Bicycle. Bicycle was the hardest level legitimately beaten by the end of 2013. It was created and verified by the OG creator, Back, and is still considered nowadays a hard demon. The level is kinda unique with gameplay compared to the rest of the levels that existed in this era. It competed with other hard levels like BP Night and Demon World, but it was clearly the hardest at the time. Stereo Demoness. Stereo Demoness was originally created and hack verified by Majak O in February 2014. This level was one of the first to have crafted art pieces and structures, and although they were simple, they inspired more complex structures in later updates. Stereo Demoness was considered impossible when released in 1.5, but in 1.8, Majak updated and nerfed some parts of his levels, Back on Mountain, Apologize, Triangle Out, and Stereo Demoness itself, where it was downgraded from an extreme demon to just an insane demon. It was then, in November of that same year, that Crack verified that nerfed version, which is considered one of the hardest completions of 2014. The first victor of the unnerfed version was PG Dillon, after more than 7 years since its release. Bloodbath. In June 2015, during version 1.9, Riot posted a preview of a massive new mega collab designed as a much harder sequel to Cataclysm. Riot already proved his skills before by being the verifier of Ice Caravan Diablo X, the first victor of Deadly Cubstep, and one of the first victors of Cataclysm itself. It was the first time a top 1 was built properly with a set verifier. Bloodbath also competed to be a top 1 against Sonic Wave by Cyclic. He spent almost 30,000 attempts, but in August 2015 he officially verified it, and it would remain unbeaten for 9 months. Bloodbath nowadays is so popular and influential that it became the most downloaded level in GT servers and inspired thousands of other levels after it. Sonic Wave. Created in 1.9 by Cyclic in June 2015, Cyclic had the goal to create the hardest thing the game has ever seen, because he had already planned to quit the game before. He made what is known as Old Sonic Wave, a light blue 9 circles level which was by far the hardest level at the time. The level ended up not being rated because Cyclic claimed to not have enough footage for the verification, just spliced clips of the run itself. So because of that, a month later, Cyclic deleted that level and reworked Sonic Wave. He made it dark blue instead and buffed it even more. This time he had a verification video, so the level was rated for about 2 weeks. Some people accused Cyclic of hacking, so in response to all the pressure and accusations, he replaced the level with a Back on Track remake, known commonly as Cyclic on Track. Sonic Wave was unrated, and shortly after, Cyclic confessed he hacked every single one of his achievements in the game, quit Geometry and deleted his YouTube channel. After all of that, a race to beat Sonic Wave began. So many top players were invested in being the verifier of the level, like Truster and even Riot himself, with the most infamous fail being Mafui's 98% in a super buffed version. Until finally, in November 2016, the Mexican top player Sunix beat the dark blue version, and the level was finally re-rated in his account. Plasma Pulse Finale. Plasma Pulse Finale, or PPF, is a 2.1 Extreme Demon Mega Collab in Geometry Dash, originally created by Gyron and Smokes. It's the 4th and final chapter of the legendary Plasma Pulse series. The level contains a lot of variety in gameplay and decoration, and it was known for being one of the hardest timing levels in the game. The level was previewed first in March 2017, but Gyron later quit Geometry Dash entirely, which meant it was up to Smokes himself to decorate and create the entire level. Eventually, on 29th of October 2017, Smokes finally verified it. Bloodlust. Bloodlust started as a 2.0 remake of Bloodbath made by Manix and many more creators and started being built in early 2016. The level received a bunch of changes during the years to have more variations in gameplay and so many decorations improvements after 2.1 came out, including an extension till the end of At the Speed of Light song. Nobleboy really took his time to verify Bloodlust, mainly because he was involved in so many other projects during those years, like the making of Fusion Z, God Eater, and even verifying Artificial Ideology. In February 2018, a player known as Krazen began practicing Bloodlust, completing the 67 to 100% extension very quickly. Many players started wondering why he was practicing Bloodlust, and the next day, Krazen achieved 52% on his own version of it, but he also revealed why he was practicing the level. He claimed that Nobleboy was taking way too long to verify it, and that he would verify his own copy. He defended himself by saying that Nobleboy stole Fusion C from Manix, and now he would steal Bloodlust for him as payback. This divided the community into two sides. Nobleboys, who disagreed with Krazen, attempted to steal the level, and Krazens, who agreed that Nobleboy was taking too long and that Krazen should replace him. Eventually, Krazen apologized to Nobleboy for the whole incident and dropped Bloodlust, leaving Nobleboy to verify that level again. On February 20th, 2018, after nearly 2 years of drama, Nobleboy finally verified Bloodlust after more than 120,000 attempts. Several top players started practicing Bloodlust before it was verified, including Sunix and Krazen. Zodiac. Zodiac is a mega collaboration and top 1 initially hosted by Rico PL, who dropped it because he was quitting Geometry Dash. The level hosting was passed to Leo Creator X, but he dropped it once again due to lack of motivation. Zodiac was passed to Bionox as the third and final host, who was really determined to finish the level and publish it. When it was finally over, the level went through multiple verifiers such as Wushi999, End Level, Benji8080, Diamond Splash, and finally it was passed to Xander as the final verifier. In 2019, Xander posted a video of him verifying the level after more than 60,000 attempts. Xander didn't stream a single time playing Zodiac, didn't have the raw footage, and the video he posted didn't have any clicks. But even with that, little to no suspicion was raised towards him about it. In June, 5 months later, Xander would drop a bomb in the community by posting in his YouTube community tab that he hacked verified Zodiac and also cheated on many of his achievements at the time. He mainly used speed hacks and a method basically impossible for the demon list to detect with the rules of it at the time. Everyone thought the level would be handed to Technical 49, the first victor of the level, which would by default be considered the first official verifier of the level, although Technical does not consider it his verification. Thinking that the level would get unrated anyway, Xander decided to update Zodiac to I'm not even gonna say that, a controversial level mainly due to its extreme hate speech from the uncensored version. Zodiac was then updated once more to an impossible joke layout with a remix of the Simpsons opening. Rob Top decided that instead of just unrating the level, he would just revert it back to the original Zodiac. Months later, in November, the level was transferred to Bionox's account. Tartarus. Tartarus, formerly known as Silent Akbar, is a 1.9 to 2.1 Extreme Demon mega collaboration hosted by Riot. The level started being built even before Bloodbath itself, still when Ice Carbon Diablo X was top 1. It is the first level of Riot's Hell-themed top 1 trilogy, and it was made in open verification. Anyone who could verify legitimately would receive a shoutout, and other unspecified prizes from Riot. During the open verification, 3 players made significant progress on the level: Mosley, Dolphy, and Metaman RB. The level was verified by Dolphy in January 2020 after 60,000 attempts. After Dolphy's verification video, many were suspicious of Dolphy's legitimacy. Riot and N-Level teamed up to question Dolphy himself. According to them, he could not answer their questions accurately, and in February, N-Level released a video exposing Dolphy. A lot of people actually lashed back, disproving most of N-Level's evidence. Pablo, a player who uploaded a video refuting the points raised by N-Level, eventually cleared Dolphy from all the drama. Mosley, on the other hand, became the second person to complete the level, beating it in February after 200,000 attempts. Just a few days later, Mosley's version of Tartarus was rated and placed almost immediately at the #1 spot on the demon list. However, after Dolphy's completion was deemed legitimate, Mosley requested his version of the level to be unrated and Dolphy's be rated instead. It happened in February, and thus Dolphy's version replaced Mosley's at the #1 spot on the demon list. Nowadays, most people accept that he beat it legit, but there's still a lot of controversy and Riot himself still thinks that he hacked it. Slaughterhouse. Slaughterhouse was created by Ice Cave and finished in 2021. It was heavily inspired by his old Impossible 2015 level, also named Slaughterhouse. The level also went through multiple verifiers, but due to a lot of them dropping the level, Ice Cave decided to make the verification a race, buffing the level even more. Top players such as Zani, Trick, and Photonic participated in this, but only after 2 weeks in October 2021, the top 1 player, Spacey K, was the one that verified it, finally dethroning Tartarus from the top 1 spot after almost 2 years. But as we all know, in April 2023, 1.5 years later, Spacey K was exposed for hacking all of his achievements, including a Slaughterhouse verification. Doggy, who was the first victor of the level after beating it in December 21, was crowned as the first official verifier. Ice Cave later hosted a prequel called Grief, a direct remake of 2015 Slaughterhouse, set to be verified by Doggy as well, and also be placed on the #1 spot on the demon list, and we all know how that's going. Acheron. Acheron is a 2.1 mega collaboration hosted by Ryamu and co-hosted by Riot. It is the second level of Riot's Hell-themed top 1 trilogy. The level was initially set to be verified by Wolves, who reached 96% before dropping it in April 2022, and just like Slaughterhouse, the level was set as a verification race, which many top players were in, like Zoink, 1 Alpha Helix, Doggy, and even Spacey K at the time. At that time, Zoink wasn't just competing against a hacker, but he was also playing Acheron in a buffed version, which not only would make it harder than Slaughterhouse, but way harder than it already was. In August, Zoink finally did it. He verified Acheron as the new #1 demon. Spacey K ended up being the first victor of the level, but after he was exposed, that title went to Doggy, who was the first official victor. Tidal Wave is a 2.1, 2.2 top 1 level created by OniLink and verified by Zoink in September 2023. It is a uniquely beach/summer themed level with fast wave sections in the majority of it, just like most 9 Circles levels have. Tidal Wave received a lot of mixed opinions, mainly due to its lack of optimization and fixed hitboxes. So most people praise the level a lot, due to its unique theme and how we finally had a top 1 which was not generic or even health themed. Tidal Wave was rated after 5 months of its verification. RobTop explained that the delay in its rating wasn't about the level itself, but about the situation around it. He said he's very careful when rating top 1 demons because people flip out over drama he's unaware of, saying most of it happens on Twitter. In this case, the moderators were split 50-50 on whether Tidal Wave should be rated or not, meaning the final decision was entirely up to him. He almost admitted it's not like he can even play the level himself to judge it because of his skill, and that in his personal opinion, there might be more fun levels better suited to be highlighted as a top 1. Tidal Wave's official sequel, Tsunami, is under development by OnlyLink and set to be verified by Zoink as well. Thinking Space 2, or just TS2, is a 2.1/2.2 top 1 mega collab hosted by Dr. Cuba and Cairo X and co-hosted by 9Dice, considered an official sequel to Thinking Space. The level was initially designed to be the hardest in the game and even a top 1 as well. However, its difficulty was nerfed later, with the level intended to be placed within the top 15. After Hyperlift, the original verifier, dropped the verification, Zoe became the new verifier. He then heavily buffed the level, returning it to a top 1 state, and verified it in May of 2025 after months of grinding. Just like Tidal Wave, Thinking Space 2 would take months as well to finally be verified by RobTop. This time, he didn't tell the reason, but it's probably similar to Tidal Wave. But it was likely similar to the same reason. I don't even know, bro.
2013 Piss MC. Geometry Dash came out in late 2013, so it's kinda hard to say who was the best player that year since it only lasted a few months, but one of the best candidates is Piss MC. Piss MC was the first ever player to beat every single rated level. The only one he didn't beat was Demon World, but since it was a hacked rated level, we can just eliminate that. Piss MC was also the creator of the former top 1 Heaven and Hell. Unfortunately, we don't have much info from him since he does not have any socials, and Piss MC quit GD after losing all his data, which was pretty common in that era, but he will forever be known as one of the first top players from GD early history. 2014 Lunar SIMG. Lunar SIMG started to play the game around update 1.3 and was a key player before 1.9 was released. During Lunar's time playing the game, he would rival and compete against a bunch of cheaters that were exposed later on. Exotic, Sari, and Cyclic. Lunar was also known for verifying a bunch of top 1s in a row. He had a level series called SIMG Factorial, and the 4th level he made of it was already a top 10 until, in update 1.5, he uploaded SIMG Factorial 5, which was the top 1 at the time. One of the only legit rivals was PG 1004 that dethroned SIMG Factorial 5 with his level Bizarre Milestone. But that didn't last long since Lunar would create SIMG Factorial 6, an even harder challenge, and at that moment, PG released his most iconic and difficult level, PG Clubstep. If you played the map packs, you know how hard and annoying this level is, and it would dethrone the SIMG Factorial series once more. At this point, Lunar did not need to create a new level to try to regain the top spot, since there was a bigger challenge on the way, Deadly Clubstep. When Lunar beat it, at the time, people thought he was the first victor, but he was actually the verifier of the level since later on, Neptune would be exposed as a hacker. After that, PG did not verify anything harder than PG Clubstep, and to top it all off, before 1.9 came out, Lunar would become the top 1 player in the leaderboards, with more stars than even Sari. Unfortunately, Lunar was not much active on GD as the years passed, but he will always be remembered as this brief legend that touched the game. 2015 Riot. In December 2014, G-Boy posted a preview of a new insanely difficult level called Cataclysm. Riot, who had already shown his skill by becoming the second person to beat Deadly Clubstep, started grinding it when it came out in 2015. He would beat it later on, and on top of that, he became the first victor of Ice Carbon Diablo X, an old 1.6 level once considered impossible. At this point, Riot beat nearly every single major challenge that we had in the game. Then, in June 2015, Riot posted a preview of a massive new mega collab, Bloodbath. It was designed as a much harder sequel to Cataclysm. He spent almost 30,000 attempts, but in August 2015, he officially verified it and it would remain unbeaten for 9 months. Riot was known not only to start the 144Hz monitor revolution on GD, which would increase drastically the top play, but also known for being the best player by far at the time, competing with multiple hackers, amongst them Cyclic and Andromeda, which later on, both would confess to cheating their hardest achievements, shocking the entire community. Riot's last big completion during his peak was verifying Red World Rebirth. Later on, he reduced his activity due to finger pains, but not before joining one of the most important races in Geometry Dash history. 2016 and 2017, Sonix. When Cyclic got exposed, the community's interest in his main level, Sonic Wave, skyrocketed. Suddenly, a lot of top players were racing to be the first victor and verifier of the level. Among them were Riot, Trusta, and a rising player named Sonix. Sonix had originally gone by the name Deem when he started Geometry Dash, and he quickly got attention for how fast he grinded through demons. In August 2016, he beat Cataclysm and casually called it just a very hard demon. After that, he started destroying extreme demons one after another. He first became infamous for making multiple joke versions of Bloodbath. There was a green version, a yellow version, a blue version, and even one where every object was set to 10% opacity. After all of that, he officially changed his name to Sonix and moved on to even bigger challenges. He beat Sakop Hell, which had just been verified by Trusta, and became the first victor of a Thanatos after Aurora's hacked completion. Both of these levels were already harder than Bloodbath, but then, in the span of just 1 week, Sonix completely shocked the community. First, he became the first victor of Catabath, a massive level that combined both Cataclysm and Bloodbath. Then, he finally won the race for Sonic Wave. His speed was so unreal that people started calling him non-human or simply a robot. From there, Sonix just harvested the entire demon list and basically every other hard level that came out. At that point, Sonix held the longest streak in GD history. He had beaten all 49 of the hardest demons in the game. After that, he slowed down a little, but his next major challenge came in mid-2018, Bloodlust. Bloodlust had taken Nombleboy 1.5 years and over 120,000 attempts to verify. Sonix beat it in just 2 weeks with fewer than 10,000 attempts. But this caused huge controversy because Sonix had used an FPS bypass, which at the time was not allowed by the demon list and was considered by many to be cheating. Funny enough, today FPS bypass is literally an official tool built into GD. After that, Sonix reduced his activity again, only beating a handful of extremes and making some content over the course of a year. But in August 2019, he surprised the community by beating After Catabath, the final part of the trilogy combining Cataclysm, Bloodbath, and Aftermath into one massive level. Nowadays, Sonix has quit Geometry Dash entirely, saying he lost interest years ago. But during his peak, his speed, consistency, and dominance made him one of the most legendary players the game has ever seen. 2018, Wuxi. Wuxi999 is a top player from 2017 and 2018 that was not only known for his insane skill at the time, but also how fast he beat hard demons. One of his first uploads was already him being the first victor of Erebus, which was top 1 at the time. He also beat Zafkiel, Deception Dive, Hatred, Digital Descent, and one of his most notable achievements, he was the first victor of Blade of Justice only 2 hours after it was uploaded. Yatagarasu, Gamma, Sakop and Hell were all beaten before his greatest completion, Crimson Planet. After months of grinding, he finally verified it in May of 2018, which would have been top 1, only if RobTop had rated it earlier, but it got rated almost a year later in 2019, months after Zodiac took the top spot. Wuxi also verified Lucid Nightmares and its sequel, Concaved Memories, as well as Ikaros, and he also beat Plasma Pulse Finale and Sonic Wave. Unfortunately, in 2019, Wuxi started to reduce his activity in GD and didn't keep up with the top play level. He mostly returned to the game in 2023 to verify Amalgam, which is considered slightly easier than Crimson Planet, and recently in 2025, he verified Death Wish, which is considered his hardest achievement, but unfortunately, it hasn't been rated yet. 2019. Technical. Technical49 is also another insane player that managed to keep up with the top play level even after his time. In 2019, he made insane achievements. After beating Spatial Rend, Bloodlust, and Plasma Pulse Finale in April 2019, he would supposedly be the first victor of the recent Top 1, the mega collaboration hosted by Bionox, Zodiac, which was verified by Xander. But unfortunately, 5 months after its verification, Xander admitted that he hacked it. That shocked the entire community, including Technical, which by default would be considered the verifier of Zodiac, although he does not consider it his verification. One of Technical's biggest achievements was winning GD's 2.1 awards as the best player of the update. He was competing against Sunix and Wuxi but still managed to win. Additionally, he beat Tartarus as well in 2020. Technical had a period of inactivity during 2021 and 2022 because of his personal life, but he finally came back to GD in recent years, beating a lot of extreme demons. In 2024, he beat Slaughterhouse, as well as Limbo, Edge of Destiny, and Hard Machine. In 2025, he beat Arcturus as his 300th Extreme Demon completed, and finally in 2026, he beat Acheron as his hardest. 2020. N-Swish. N-Swish started his career very quickly, already beating extreme demons in early 2017. He became known for using very few attempts to complete them. For example, he beat Zafkiel in only 600 attempts, and on the very same day he completed Artificial Dream in just 700. By the end of 2019, N-Swish verified Cognition in only a week, and then beat Kinos just 9 days after its release, taking him only 10,000 attempts compared to Nepesta's 135,000. The following year, 2020, he set his sights on the next number 1, Tartarus. Then, in April, N-Swish verified what would become his most iconic achievement, the Golden, which took him around 50,000 attempts and gave us one of the most memorable reactions in GD history.
I verified the Golden, let's go! Finally.
In September of that same year, N-Swish accomplished something that nobody else had done before. He completed the entire main list, all 75 hardest levels in the game. Not even Sunix had done that. It wasn't a surprise for anyone that he won the GD Awards from 2020 as the best player, but shortly after, he disappeared without much explanation. He never revealed many details about his personal life or why he suddenly vanished. He eventually returned in December of 2021, streaming attempts on levels like Firework and even reaching 51% on Sakubin Circles. It was obvious to everyone that the number 1 player was back and ready to reclaim his spot, but then N-Swish disappeared again. This time, once and for all. Years later, in September of 2023, a player named rsliced uploaded a video accusing N-Swish of hacking. He claimed that N-Swish used a method very similar to the one Space UK would later be accused of. The evidence was based on click inconsistency in his completions. The video sparked massive drama, and in response, N-Swish deleted all of his socials except his GD account. Later, it was discovered that the evidence in rsliced's video was manipulated. He had misaligned the audio tracks himself, which created the illusion of cheating. He then privated the video. Not long after, a strange post appeared on N-Swish's account saying, "cheated." It was quickly deleted and another message followed, claiming that his account had been hacked after his password was leaked, insisting that he had never cheated any of his completions. The last message we ever got from N-Swish was, "Hi guys, I did not cheat in the game or cheat on my wife, lol. I am doing fine by the way. Deleting everything was a personal choice that I stand by." To this day, there is no solid evidence that he ever hacked. Nowadays, N-Swish appears in the community here and there to talk about stuff, but it's clear that he moved on with his life. 2021. Crisis. GD Crisis is one of the most underrated players in GD history. Unfortunately, he never managed to get the top 1 in the pointer crate because he was competing against Space UK at the time, which ironically was his close friend in that era, and a lot of attention Crisis should have gotten went to Space. During 2020 and 2021, he would beat so many of the top demons. The Golden, Kinos, Crimson Planet, Tartarus, Zodiac, Thinking Space, Coareta, Cold Sweat, Deimos, True Effect, Verified Keres, and finally he was the first victor of Firework. Crisis had the entire top 12 beaten at some point. Crisis would be the number 1 at Pointer Crate in December 2021 if it wasn't for Space UK, and would stay there for months, and maybe even more if he had the motivation. Unfortunately, Crisis quit from GD a while ago. 2022 to present day. Zoink. The current number 1 player for quite a while now is none other than Zoink. He started his career in 2021, making a massive leap by going from Bloodbath straight to Zodiac. That already showed how promising he was for the game. Space UK kind of popularized those insane big jumps in the community, so Zoink pushed himself through Zodiac with over 40,000 attempts. Not long after, he started grinding through some of the hardest levels of the time. He beat eventually, in 2022, Slaughterhouse, becoming the first legitimate victor after Doggy. But being good wasn't enough for Zoink. He wanted to be the very best. To truly earn that title, Zoink knew he had to do more than just beat the hardest levels. He had to verify the hardest himself. In early 2022, Wolves dropped the verification of a level called Acheron after failing at 96%, leaving the challenge open to anyone who could finish it. This was Zoink's chance to prove himself, but he wasn't alone. He was competing against other top players like 1 Alpha Helix, Doggy, and even Space UK. Zoink wasn't just competing against a hacker, but he also was playing Acheron in a buffed version, which not only would make it harder than Slaughterhouse, but way harder than it already was. In August, Zoink finally did it. He verified Acheron as the new number 1 demon, and in early 2023 he achieved the possible. He surpassed Space UK in points on the demon list, officially becoming the number 1 player in the world. For the second time in GD history, a top player was so good that he won a rivalry even against a hacker, just proving how skilled he really is. Not satisfied, in April 2023 he became the second ever person after Enswish to complete the top 75 demons. Since then, Zoink has continued to dominate. He currently holds the record for the most number 1 demon verifications with 4 in total: Acheron, Avernus, Tidal Wave, and now Thinking Space 2. He has held the title of verifier of the hardest level in the game since 2022, more than 3 years straight, and today he has a lead of almost 3,000 points above second place. For most people, he is the best player in GD history.
Cube. The Cube is one of the 2 game modes released when Geometry Dash came out back in 2013. It was a direct copy from the Cube in the Impossible game, which was the game that inspired Geometry Dash. It is the simplest and probably the most intuitive game mode. You press to jump, and that's it. The Cube is definitely the best way to introduce someone to the game because of how easy it is to understand for literally anyone. Anyone that plays Stereo Madness for the first time can tell instantly what it does after the first death, just like most game modes do. Just like most game modes, the Cube dies instantly if it touches any spikes or collides with a solid block sideways, and is one of the only game modes that dies if it touches its head on a solid block too, unless it has a H block on it. Most of the gameplay in Cube sections is not as sight readable as other game modes, mainly because you can't fly or regulate its jump height, especially at 3 times or 4 times speed. You usually need to practice to know the layout, which makes it way harder. Another characteristic of the Cube gameplay is timings. Whenever you are going for a hard Cube section, unless it's a memory part, it is going to be mainly single click tight timings, or in the worst case scenario, spam sections like the one in Silent Club or Tartarus. Ship. The ship is the other game mode released when Geometry Dash came out. It was meant to be a different option from the sliding and ground-based Cube game mode as a flying alternative. As the ship, when you hold, you go up, and when you let go, you go down. Unlike the Cube, whenever you enter a ship ball, the game creates a natural ceiling in the level, limiting you from free flying across the entire level, unless the creator enables that option in the editor. The introduction of it in Stereo Madness is pretty beginner friendly. You have a ton of time to see what it does while flying in the open. The ship can also touch its head on solid blocks with absolutely no problem. The ship gameplay in most levels is definitely more sight readable, but also generally more difficult, since you don't have any other inputs apart from holding and releasing with one button. During the ship gameplay, you also have a technique called straight fly, which consists in keeping your ship as straight as possible to go through tight gaps, almost alternating between clicking while clicking as fast as possible, which can help you go through super tight spike gaps. Ship is also the most difficult game mode in terms of frame perfect, because you have the ones you need to click, the ones you need to release, at the time between one another. You can have a bunch of variety in ship gameplay style too. You can use all sort of blocks like obstacles, spikes, saws, and you can pretty much use every orb, or just focus in straight flight or timing to hold and release. Basically, there are endless possibilities. Ball. The ball was the first game mode that came out after Geometry Dash was released in version 1.2. It consists of another ground game mode like the cube, but instead of jumping when you input, you switch gravity. It was first introduced in the level cycles, where the player has some time to see what's going on and tell what the game mode can do before they click. Just like the ship, it can hit its head on the wall without dying, and the ceiling closes when you enter its portal. But in this case, it closes one additional block in each end, probably because the ball would take too much time to go from the top to the bottom. The type of gameplay on the ball is kinda similar to the cube, mostly timings and tight gaps. But it's actually a bit easier to sight read than the cube because it's basically a slower game mode in general. It is also definitely one of the most buggy game modes. You have things which are still in the game, like the ball going underground with the right block setup, and being able to climb single blocks doing a very quick double click when you are about to crash onto them. UFO. The UFO was added to Geometry Dash in version 1.5 as a new flying style game mode, but very different from the ship. Instead of holding to control your height, the UFO works with individual clicks. Every time you press, the UFO performs a small jump in the air. This makes it feel kinda like a mix between the cube and the ship, combining a flying mode with a single tap inputs. The UFO was mainly inspired by a level of the OG creator Darnock called Gravity Field. That was a short level that featured the cube in an open space full of yellow jump pads so the player could jump around freely. Although it was simple, it gave RobTop the idea to create the UFO. Also, it definitely got some inspiration in the super popular game Flappy Bird, which was released around 1 year before 1.5 came out, and the mechanics of it are almost identical to the UFO. Its first introduction, in Theory of Everything, gives the player enough space to understand how it behaves before any tight obstacles appear, and just like the ship, when you enter a UFO portal, the game creates a natural ceiling and floor, limiting how far you can go vertically. Unlike the ship, the UFO does not move smoothly up and down, and it is very hard to control where you exactly want to go. Its movement is more bouncy and segmented since each input creates a fixed arc. But because of that, the gameplay has no holding at all and is all about timings. Another strong characteristic of the UFO is how well it works with orbs and pads. Many creators use orbs to force very specific click patterns so the gameplay feels smooth and exactly how they want it to behave. Wave. The wave was added to Geometry Dash in version 1.9 and is one of the most unique game modes in the game. It was initially called Dart by RobTop, but he changed its name later due to how Wave was so popular within the community. Unlike every other mode, the wave does not move in arcs or straight lines, but in constant zigzag patterns. When you hold, the wave goes up diagonally, and when you let go, it goes down diagonally in a 45-degree angle. Unless you are a mini wave, which is the only game mode that does not only shrink your icon, but it also makes its pathway way steeper and completely changes the gameplay. Its first introduction in blast processing gives the player a fairly open area to understand how the movement works before any tight spaces appear. Just like the other flying game modes, entering a wave portal creates a natural ceiling and floor. The wave gameplay is definitely one of the most precise ones because the movement is perfectly diagonal and continuous. Wave sections are usually very sight readable, probably the most sight readable game mode in the game. Combining this with the fact that it is the most precise game mode as well, made the wave extremely popular in the community and is known to be the best game mode amongst top players. Another strong characteristic of the wave is a technique known as wave spam or alternating, where the player rapidly taps or alternates between clicks to create very small zigzag patterns to pass through extremely tight spaces. This technique is heavily used in Extreme Demons and is one of the most mechanically demanding skills in the game, and we even have some players who specialize purely in it. Robot. The robot was added to Geometry Dash in version 2.0 as another ground-based game mode. Similar to the cube, but with a major difference in how jumping works. Instead of having a fixed jump height like the other ones, the robot's jump depends on how long you hold the input. For example, short taps make a small hop, while holding makes the robot jump much higher. It appears for the first time in Geometrical Dominator, and just like the cube, the robot dies if its head touches a solid block, unless there is a H-block placed in it. Because of the variable jump height, robot gameplay is much more flexible than cube gameplay. You are not limited to single timings, and you can adjust your height depending on the situation, which allows for more creative layouts and gameplay patterns. Robot gameplay is often a mix of short taps, medium holds, and full jumps in quick succession, and you can kinda say the robot parts feel like a controlled cube part, but with more variation in height. There's not much else to say about the robot besides that it's very similar to the cube. Spider. The Spider was added to Geometry Dash in version 2.1 and is another ground-based game mode, and it is very similar to the ball, but instead of jumping or switching gravity in an arc, the Spider instantly teleports from the floor to the ceiling or from the ceiling to the floor every time you press. It was first shown in the level Finger Dash, and because of this teleporting mechanic, the Spider gameplay is very timing based. Each click must be done at the exact moment you want to switch surfaces, since there is no way to correct your position mid-air, and once you click, you are immediately on the opposite side. The spider is generally more sight readable than game modes like the cube once you have some experience with it, because you don't have to predict arcs or your jump height. You can simply decide when to switch. However, at higher speeds like 3 times and 4 times, the instant nature of the movement can mess up your timing and make you click at the completely wrong time. Another characteristic of the spider is how well it works with small gaps and quick transitions between floor and the ceiling. Creators often use single block gaps, making the spider by far the most tight game mode. And just like the ball, the spider can hit its head on blocks without dying, and it closes the ceiling and floor when you enter its portal. Swingcopter. The Swingcopter was added to Geometry Dash in version 2.1 as a flying game mode with a very unusual control style. It was introduced in the level Dash, and instead of going up when you hold and down when you release like the ship, the Swingcopter constantly moves forward while swinging up and down automatically, and every time you press it, it switches the direction of that swing. This means you are not directly controlling whether you're going up and down, but rather when the movement inverts. Because of this, the Swingcopter feels unpredictable at first and takes some time to fully understand, and it is kinda hated in the community because of this. The Swingcopter is another fan-made game mode that Raptor put into the game, since it was first called the floating ball. The way it was made back in the day is by creating a 2-player ball gameplay, where in the top ball, you lock it in a 1-block wide space filled with blue orbs, while in the other one, you put the gameplay. And just like that, you could simulate the Swingcopter gameplay before the update even came out. Just like all the flying game modes, entering a Swingcopter portal creates a natural ceiling and floor that limits the vertical space you can travel in. The swing gameplay is heavily timing based too, and it is by far the game mode that the community dislikes the most. Maybe because it is the most recent one, it is completely different than game modes like the wave for example, since it is completely unpredictable. But most levels created nowadays don't even use the Swingcopter, so a lot of players are not even used to it. Core mechanics. Geometry Dash simply is a 2D horizontal runner style game, and although Raptor took great inspiration from the Impossible game to make it, he actually added so many more features over the years, which obviously includes level editor that adds infinite content to the game. This is actually comparable to Minecraft, which is a gigantic sandbox game that is basically ran by the community. Just like every single game, Geometry Dash has its core mechanics and how things work. The main mechanic is definitely the jump. Whenever you input in your device, your icon is going to do an action based on the game mode you are. You can also hold, which also can have different responses based on your game mode. GD also has a gravity mechanic that can be changed in a lot of ways, which are going to be mentioned later in the video. Flipping your icon upside down and reversing the inputs in some of the game modes. The most relatable meme in GD is people flipping their phones or monitors when they've reached the first upside down part in Tryout. Portals. Portals are actually what transform the gameplay. They instantly change how the game behaves and are responsible for most of the variety. There are a lot of different types of portals that can change gameplay with different categories. There are 8 different game modes as mentioned before. They change the form you play the game. We have the cube, ship, ball, UFO, wave, robot, spider, and swingcopter. Each one has completely different physics and how they work. The cube is the classic game mode, just input to jump and hold to keep jumping. The ship enables you to fly by holding down the button, and you can go down by releasing it. The ball works similar to the cube, but instead of jumping when you click, you switch gravity. The UFO looks a lot like Flappy Bird, your icon jumps in the air every time you click. The wave goes perfectly diagonal up and down when you hold and release, but is the only game mode that dies when it touches solid blocks. The robot is also very similar to the cube, but you can regulate the height of the jump the more you hold the input. The spider is very similar to the ball, but it swaps gravity instantly. And lastly, the swingcopter works very similar to the ball too, but it can float and change gravity mid-air. Game modes is one of the main things that differentiate GD from a game like the Impossible game. The variety and combinations possible are just way too massive, and increases even more with the next portals. Speed portals. These are pretty simple and self-explanatory. They control how fast your icon goes. You have the 0.5x speed portal, the 1x speed portal, which is the standard one, the 2x, the 3x, and finally the 4x speed portal. Those don't just fast forward the game, but also change how physics work. For example, the cube in regular speed can only jump 3 spikes, but if you set it to 2x speed, it can now jump 4 spikes. Jumping 5 spikes at 3x speed and 6 spikes at 4x speed. And of course, it also jumps less spikes in 0.5x speed, only 2 at max. The faster your icon is doesn't necessarily make the gameplay more difficult, but it definitely makes it harder to sight read, since things appear on your screen much faster. Gravity portals. These portals instantly flip your gravity no matter which game mode you are. The yellow one sets you upside down, and the blue one sets you to normal gravity. The green one flips your gravity to the opposite no matter which one you are. As we mentioned, every beginner player has a hard time with gravity changes, especially with gameplays where they happen a lot, but with time you can definitely get used to it. Size polls. Mini polls shrink your icon, which also changes physics. It makes your icon smaller so you can fit through tighter gaps, but your jumps also get smaller to compensate for that. The only game mode that in its mini version changed the physics completely is the wave. Instead of just making a smaller version of your icon, it makes your wave go up and down way faster, making a way steeper pathway. And you can obviously have the green normal size poll, which sets the icon back to normal size. Dual poll. The dual poll creates an icon for you to play with, which is naturally generated with the gravity reversed. When you click, both icons input simultaneously unless the level is set to 2-player mode, and in that case you have one input for each icon. You can also have a different game mode or size for each icon, making the combinations almost limitless. And also, sometimes the gameplay is synced, sometimes not, and that's why things can get really difficult and way harder to sight read. Mirror poll. These are the most controversial ones and actually hated by the community. The reverse poll makes your icon and the entire gameplay go from right to left instead of left to right. That does not change the difficulty of the physics directly, just makes it more confusing, especially because they are very underused by the community. With that, you also have the blue one, which turns you back to normal. Teleportation poll. The last poll is the teleportation poll. That does exactly what the name suggests, teleporting you to a position. Just like the game poll, you put the blue one where you want to start the teleportation and the yellow one where you want the icon to go. Because of version 2.2, you can also set them apart horizontally so the player can teleport further into the level. Orbs. Orbs, or jump rings, are the spheres that do something when the player clicks when they enter in contact with them. The most famous example of an orb is the yellow one. When you press on it, your icon performs an extra jump, unless you are the wave, which does nothing to it. Unless you are the Do you wear wigs?
Do you wear wigs?
No, I do not.
You also have the blue orb, which switches your gravity when you click on it. The pink one, that is the same as the yellow one, but does a slightly smaller jump. The green one, which is a combination of the blue and the yellow orbs, changing your gravity and instantly doing a jump. The red/orange one is the same as the yellow, but performs a way bigger jump. The black one, which throws your icon down insanely fast. The dash orb, that makes your icon dash to a certain direction while you are holding it. The pig dash orb, that does exactly the same but reverses your gravity as well. The spider orb, which does exactly what a spider input does, instantly teleporting your icon to the other side and changing its gravity. The trigger orb, that when you press it can enable or disable a group. And finally, the teleport orb, that teleports your icon to a set position in the level. Orbs are also an essential part for most levels. You have levels like Orbit by Minecraft or O by Catgirl Blitz, where every single input is an orb, showing how much variety you can really have with them. Pads. Pads are basically automatic orbs. When your icon touches a pad, it performs an action without you needing to press on it. Just like the orbs, you have a yellow jump pad that makes your icon jump high, a pink one that does a smaller jump, a blue one that reverses your gravity, a red/orange one that does a higher jump, and the spider pad that also instantly teleports the icon to the other side and changes its gravity. You have less pads than orbs and there is not much variety, but with enough creativity you can still use them to mix with other elements in the gameplay. Obstacles. And obviously, you don't only have tools to assist you in the gameplay, but also the actual objects and hitboxes for you to avoid. First, you have the solid blocks. Those you can slide normally and jump when you are on top of them, but if you run on them in the sides, you are going to die. Also, for game modes like the cube or the robot, if you hit your head on a solid block, your icon is going to die as well. Unless you have H blocks inside of them, which allows those game modes to do that without dying. The only exception is the wave, which dies instantly if it hits any part of the block, unless you have a D block on it, which allows the wave to slide on those blocks without dying. The other part of obstacles you have are the ones that kill you when you enter contact with them, no matter what. Those are usually represented by spikes, but you have a big variety of objects with different sizes, shapes, like different spikes, ground spikes, and even saws. Triggers. Triggers are features in the editor used to manipulate surrounding objects in the level. You have almost 100 triggers in the game and a huge variety to use them on. They are basically the brain of the level and what makes it insanely dynamic. At the most basic level, a trigger activates when the player reaches a certain point. That can mean changing colors, moving objects, or activating effects, but it goes way deeper than that. With move triggers, you can animate entire structures. With alpha triggers, you can fade objects in and out. With spawn triggers, you can chain events together to create complex sequences that happen over time, and the real power comes from combining all of them. You can sync gameplay to music, create literal cutscenes, build boss fights, or even simulate entirely new game mechanics and gameplay concepts that don't exist in the base game, like when completely different games are made inside of Geometry Dash. For example, Osu, Doom, Minecraft, and pretty much any other game you can think of. At a high level, triggers let creators break the normal rules of Geometry Dash, and that's why modern levels feel so advanced compared to older ones. And as new triggers were introduced in the game, new possibilities were created, like recreating whole entire games inside GD. That's why the level editor is often called a game engine, which at this point, it basically is. Between 2020 and 2021, a player showed up that was so good at the game that made everyone truly impressed. He made gigantic jumps like beating the Golden, which was considered top 1 at the time, as his 5th ever demon. He would easily destroy the entire demon list and make insane achievements like verifying Slaughterhouse, which was the top 1 by far at the time, and be the first victor of Acheron, completing all top 75 levels in the demon list. His legacy in the game would last for years as the best player until everyone found out it was a lie. For years, he fooled the entire community into thinking he was the best when he actually hacked every single one of his achievements just clicking over a macro, and the damage he dealt to the game's history was irreparable. But what if the top player never decided to download Geometry Dash in the first place? How much would have actually changed? Today, we are going to see what if Spacey K never existed. Stolen top 1s. As mentioned before, he caught the attention of the community when in December 2020 he beat the Golden, which was considered top 1, although it was demoted later to top 2 behind Tartarus. He would eventually keep up crushing the demon list in the next months, and that was already when he started to directly influence the community. At the time, many top players were competing to be number 1 in the point and create list, and since Spacey K arrived crushing everyone and becoming the top 1 when he verified Slaughterhouse, many players lost motivation to keep playing, especially RG and Spirit X. Both of them were battling to be the number 1 for weeks, switching places all the time until Spacey K came and just surpassed both of them in 2021. And the thing is, both these players would have the motivation to keep the number 1 title if they didn't have an opponent as good as Spacey K seemed. Even RG himself admitted that. Seeing someone pass you that quickly and easily when you grinded for years is definitely demotivating, and if Spacey K didn't play the game, we would surely have one of them as the number 1 for at least a couple months. And he didn't stay in the top 1 for a short amount of time, he spent years there. His next victim would be the player Crisis, which ironically was a close friend of Space at the time. He would have claimed the top spot in December 2021, but only made 2nd because of Space, and would stay there for a while. Crisis was an insanely underrated player that unfortunately had a reputation of just being Spacey K's shadow. He tried for months to surpass him, but he never did, when he was actually the number 1 player all along, but never actually knew it.
That's still probably the one thing that I'll probably never forgive myself for. No one ever talks about Crisis, even though he was impacted the most. The entire time I was top 1 on the stats sphere, pretty much, Crisis was the actual number 1 player. He was top 1 on the stats sphere for a good 8 months, 9 months or something fucking crazy. But people don't know. Even now that kind of does make me a little sad, but
the same happened with Wolves, Thunder BT, Jeller, and Snowballer. They were all insanely underrated players as well that got the number 1 spot stolen from them. This is a way bigger deal than it seems, because getting number 1 in the stats viewer could give you an insane momentum to keep grinding and playing the game, and those players could easily be in the top for years if they didn't lose all the motivation seeing there was a guy clearly ahead of them who was hacking. Misplaced levels. Stealing top 1 placements is not the only thing that Spacey K did. Because of the fact that he stayed as the top 1 player for so long, he gave a lot of different opinions and takes about levels that were insanely inaccurate. He had no idea what he was talking about because he hacked all the levels and was not a top player. One of those cases was with the level hard machine. At the time, in 2021, the player Varium verified it, but there were a lot of discussions if it was harder than the top 1 at the time, Tartarus or not. Which, looking back, it actually was. But it was misplaced on the list because Space said the level was not that hard and only ended up at the 5th slot. Stuff like this completely destroys the mental of players like Varium, because imagine spending weeks, months, and even years to complete projects like Hard Machine and they end up ditched like that because of a hacker who had no idea what he was talking about and misplaced the level. He never got the feeling of being the verifier at the top 1, never had the glory of that title, and the worst part is definitely finding out it was all a lie. Unfortunately, due to all the changes in 2.2, Hard Machine got obliterated and is now way easier than it once was. But when Varian verified it, it was definitely a top 1. And we obviously need to address the elephant in the room, Slaughterhouse. We're going to talk a little bit more about Slaughterhouse later, but the main thing about this topic is that Space won the race to verify it by hacking the verification, which messed up a lot of placements in the list at the time, especially regarding Firework. Space verified it 5 days before Trick verified it, which would have been the number 1 at the time. Trick was only 12 to 30 years old when he did it, and once more, the glory and satisfaction of having a top 1 verified was stolen. If SpaceUK didn't hack verify it, Firework would be the top 1 for a while before Slaughterhouse was actually verified, and it also wouldn't be a top 1 for only 17 seconds. Tiles stolen. Space had so many titles of both First Victor and Verifier of levels, which were directly stolen from other players that worked hard to achieve them. Starting off with GD Crisis himself. He stole his First Victor title of Firework after Trick verified it. It was his hardest grind and he didn't get the glory of being the First Victor at the time. He also stole the First Victor from Jeller on TrueFet, which was a playtester of the level 2. Space would steal the First Victor from Zoink as well in Aerial Gleam by only 2 minutes. Because of that 2-minute difference, Zoink was still building his name in the community at the time and didn't get the glory of it. Skizzle was the first real victor of Oblivion. He played the level for a long time even before it was verified and really wanted the title, which was robbed again. Trick would again be a victim of him when Space stole the First Victor title of Abyss of Darkness. It wasn't as impactful as Firework, but was definitely meaningful in a way too, because so many views were being assigned to him compared to anyone else in the community. And finally, at last but definitely not least, Doggy. Space stole the First Victor title from Doggy on the level Acheron, even after he invested more than 120,000 attempts on it, but definitely the most impactful achievement that he robbed was the verification of Slaughterhouse. Space joined the race to verify Slaughterhouse and hacked it. Because of that, he demotivated and got the achievement of many players that were going for it, and especially Doggy, which at the time would have been the First Victor. But in reality, Doggy is the real verifier of Slaughterhouse. In a video, he directly said that the feeling of randomly getting the verified title of Slaughterhouse was definitely not the same as actually verifying it at the time. And to be completely honest, if SpaceUK didn't hack it, maybe Doggy would not be the actual verifier of Slaughterhouse. Verification races were completely different than the First Victor race, and after Space did it, a lot of players that were playing it just quit or reduced their activity on the level because they would not get the title of verifier anyways. The importance of that title was absolutely massive back then, but because of everything that happened, it doesn't mean nearly as much anymore, and that's the whole point. The same goes for all the First Victor titles he took. So many players who deserved recognition lost their motivation because of that, and that significantly changed the progression in the history of the game, so the verifier could have easily been someone else that is not Doggy, like Trick, Zaddy, Cursed, or any top player that was grinding it at the time. It is insanely difficult to predict this because Space verified Slaughterhouse in like 2 weeks, which was insane at the time, and it was honestly hilarious how he didn't get caught. At last, SpaceUK also stole titles in the GD Awards. He won as the best player of 2021 when he was at his peak with more than 70% of the votes. It is insanely difficult to say who would be the real winner since he won by a gigantic margin compared to everyone else, but it seems like it would have likely been Trick. And in 2022, he also won as the best player, but this time it was actually insanely close, as the second place was Doggy with Zoink right behind him, so it would have probably been one of them instead. Irreversible damage. Besides all the individual players that were affected and how much history was changed in the game, there is a main and biggest factor to be addressed about this situation. GG already had many hackers in the past in its first years of release, like the most infamous example being Cyclic. But the thing is, before Space was exposed, pretty much the entire community was sure that we would not have any major hacking scandals anymore or someone cheating everything, and we were all wrong. The worst part of it is that it was using a very basic and simple method of cheating, clicking over a macro, which is insanely simple to do, and it somehow managed to work for years. The Demon List also has some blame in this situation. Despite being amazing overall doing their job, letting someone hack all the way into the top position for years like Space did is an insane red flag to their cheat detections. Although Paco, one of the leaders of the Demon List, claims that nowadays it is impossible for someone to climb all the way to the top like SpaceUK did by cheating, it is not 100% reliable, because well, the same thing would have been said at the time before he was caught. So, in summary, if Space had never existed, many of those top players might still be active in the community today. They would have stayed motivation to defend their top spots and keep pushing their limits, but now the recognition they truly deserved is something they will never fully receive. Space was caught because he didn't care enough to make it obvious. But maybe, just maybe, there's some top player that is insanely cautious and good at cheating that has not been caught yet and probably will never be. Imagine you're one of the best Geometry Dash players in the world. Literally one of the first people to be a top 1 level and a top 1 challenge at the same time. You create some of the best content ever on YouTube about Geometry Dash while still competing to be the best player. But then you decide to give yourself your biggest challenge yet, Grief. Grief is a much harder prequel to Slaughterhouse, another insane extreme demon. It seemed like it would just be another verification that would take a few months, but actually those few months turned into a few years. And suddenly, your health gets severely damaged in every single way while you are being pressured by millions of people to keep going. This is how Grief is destroying Doggy's mental health. Lack of progress. Grief is an extreme 3-minute level, and as time passes, as he gets new records, it becomes even harder for him to get a new best. As everybody knows, Doggy spent 11 months without getting a new best, stuck at 80%, and when he did it, it was only up to 83%. Now, imagine if every year he only gets a 3% progress. Obviously that idea sounds insane and probably not realistic, since he's getting way more consistent as of recent, but as a reminder, even while playing 30 days straight in February, non-stop, he could not get a single new best, with more than over 60 hours of playtime in that 1 month. And 83% is still in the middle of Taco Spat, so it is very realistic that his next new best might be quite close to that. And based on his slow progress, it would be almost a miracle fluking the level from 83% straight to the very end. Doggy also took some months to repeat good runs he had in the level. Since the first time he got 25 to 100, he took months to do the same run again and still has not managed to get 17 to 100 for example. Another run which he was very close to multiple times but never actually did it. Now imagine playing the same level for hours, almost every single day for months, and you make zero progress from what you already have. Verifications usually take longer to get done, but not this long. Doggy has been playing Grief for almost 2 years, and it's clear that his lack of progress is one of the things that is destroying him more and more.
I feel like I'm like stuck in terms of progress. I mean, I can't really make much progress, and I feel like I'm being held back, like mentally, but also physically. It's just, I just feel like I'm not as good as I could be whenever I'm playing, and I kind of just lost a little bit of like motivation, because I don't know when I'm gonna progress. Like, when the fuck is that gonna happen? Oh yeah, and then I hate playing it now, like more than ever before. All that piled on top of each other, I would start to think like, what if I do drop it? What happens next? I realized that I can't do that. So.
Community pressure. Doggy has already stated multiple times in his streams and even interviews that he's not playing Grief anymore for himself, and if it was just for him, he would have dropped it a long time ago. But at the point that Doggy is, with all the time he invested on the level and built narratives with the community, it is extremely unlikely that he drops it someday, simply because he already spent that much time trying to do it, so basically there's no turning back for him now. And not only that, but the community also pressures him about the time he has taken to verify the level. It is not uncommon to see people constantly commenting on Doggy streams that if someone else was playing the level, it would have probably been verified months ago. Although those comments are mostly from haters and people that don't really support Doggy, seeing this kind of stuff definitely puts way more pressure on him. Real life and pauses. Since Grief is such a gigantic verification project, Doggy is not going to spend every single day of his life practicing the level. If he did that, he would have already gone crazy by now. Doggy has a family, friends, girlfriend, social life, and specifically not only one channel to upload and produce content on, but actually 2, because Doggy is a member and editor of the TCD group. If you already watched the TCD Among Us video, it was actually Doggy that edited it. Not only that, but he also has to put a lot of effort and time into his Doggy December series. The last 2 editions, 2024 and 2025, were during his time while he was still verifying Grief. Also, in recent times, Doggy spent so much time building his most recent level, The End Is Here, which is a beautiful level by the way. Oh my god, look at this. He already stated that he spent months building it, so a big portion of his time playing GD was actually dedicated to that. Doggy is not just a regular pro player like we are used to seeing, he's also a GD creator, a content creator, and even an editor. At last, every year, Doggy takes breaks during holidays to spend time with his loved ones, and because of that, he always comes back a little bit rusty and has to play a little bit more to catch up with his most recent progress. All of that delays the verification time even more, because clearly it's not the biggest priority in Doggy's life. Physical problems. Doggy already stated multiple times in his streams now how much his hand and arm hurt from the level. That could be mainly associated with playing the level during an entire month, but with the amount of precision and consistency that Doggy needs to play Grief, he he will likely end up with some physical problems like tendonitis. Other top players in the past like Zobros and Riot experienced stuff like that, and it was even one of the reasons they quit from top play. Another physical problem that Doggy often experiences is the change in his appearance. I mean, compare him with day 1 of Grief to 1 to 2 years of progress. It looks like he's aged 10 years playing the level. He even grew a whole beard. Maybe that can be associated with all the stress that generated while playing this level, because if you watch Doggy streams, you know he constantly rages on levels that he gets stuck in for a long time. And he already did get angry multiple times with Grief, so that is something we need to consider. At last, imagine if Doggy keeps having the same progress rate that he did last year. We might see him still playing Grief in like 5 years from now, and even playing it with his child, while still dying to Taka's runs. Maybe the true verifier of Grief is not Doggy, but Doggy Jr. Comparisons. As we mentioned before, a lot of people from the community compare Dog with other top players, saying that they would verify the level quicker. One of the most common ones are Dubes and Drama GD. Dubes himself has been playing Grief in a leaked copy for a few months and already got it in 3 runs, even though he does not practice and play Grief nearly as much as Doggy does. And obviously, people often theorize how much it would take for Zoink, the best player, to verify it. Doggy has already been playing it for years, but for Zoink, it would probably only take him a few weeks, or even days to verify Grief. That's just how good he is, which pressures Doggy even more, receiving these kind of comments every day on his streams and on his videos. Maybe he just needs to get good, I don't know. Taxes. After years and years of streaming, Doggy has made over 6 figures. He already admitted that on a TCD video.
How much money have you made from Grief in total?
Around $100,000.
And to this day, he still constantly gets $100, $200, $500 donations on his Grief streams, meaning he has a lot of money. Which means one thing, he has to file taxes. Imagine the amount of money he has to give to the government only because of the donations on his streams. It is insane. Besides, Doggy receives a lot of ARS, Argentine pesos, donations and subscriptions on his YouTube, which, in case you don't know, gives him basically no revenue at all because of currency inflation, and just inflates the amount of subs he has on his channel for free. Because of the gigantic amount of money his channel makes, he definitely has to spend time filing some taxes so that the IRS does not get suspicious about where all the money comes from, and that ends up creating more and more pressure to beat Grief. Because imagine if one day he makes more than $1 million in total while playing this level. Where would he store all that money? And how would he explain to the government where all that money came from? Yeah, IRS, I just got $1 million from getting tendonitis. Doggy definitely thinks deeply about that every night and gets even more pressure to play Grief more and more to end this craziness once and for all. It has already been leaked a while ago that Doggy has a folder on his PC called Grief Expenses. And Icecaved himself, the creator of Grief, had to make the level shorter and easier so Doggy does not lose that much money playing it. At this point, Grief is a financial responsibility to Doggy, and a gigantic black hole where he needs to get off before it's too late, or at the very least beat the level so he can stop making money. Also, I hacked the government's data and found out that Doggy forgot to file his taxes in 2025, so he's in very big trouble and might get arrested any day now.
1.0. Released on August 13th, 2013, this was the first update of the game. GD was only available for mobile at the time and featured the cube and ship as the only game modes. It had 7 levels and an editor where you could make your own levels, upload them to the servers, and download levels from other people to play. It also had difficulties to assign for each level, ranging from easy to insane. It was a pretty raw update compared to what we have today, but as a first released, it was solid compared to the other mobile games. 1.1. Released on September 10th, 2013, it added the new level Time Machine, which introduced the new mechanic from the update, mirror portals. These turned out to be kind of pointless in the game and were pretty disliked by the community. 1.1 also added the ability to comment on user levels. A minor version, 1.11, added every play, a system that lets you share level replays. It was fairly popular for a while, and you can still see it in older replay videos. Unfortunately, every play was discontinued in October 2018 because fewer and fewer people were using it. 1.2. Released on October 14th, 2013, it introduced the 9th main level, Cycles, which featured the brand new game mode, The Ball. It's similar to the cube, but instead of jumping when you tap, it switches gravity. Interestingly, in Geometry Dash Lite's patch notes, 1.2 was mistakenly called 1.13. 1.3. Released on November 20th, 2013, it finally added blue pads and blue orbs to the game. It was the first major update to include new decorative blocks, such as floating platforms and clouds, all featured in the 10th main level added in this update, X-Step. 1.3 also added the leaderboard system, one of the first features that made the game more competitive. Not only that, but 1.3 was also when RobTop added the demon difficulty, inspired by a level named Demon Park by M2 Cole, which was far harder than anything seen before in the game. 1.4. Released on December 26, 2013, the highlight of this update was the mini portal, featured in the 11th main level, Clutterfunk. This level also introduced new saws, mini spikes, and new blocks. Additionally, the ship now used both primary and secondary colors instead of just the primary one, along with new icons for it. Fun fact, in Update 1.41, RobTop fixed a bug that caused players with over 500 stars or 5 completed demons to crash. Imagine if something like that happened today. 1.5. Released on January 10th, 2014, its main highlight was the new game mode, the UFO. Similar to the ship, but it performs high jumps with every tap, much like Flappy Bird, and it was probably inspired by it since Flappy Bird came out nearly a year earlier. The update also introduced new blocks, all featured in the new level Theory of Everything. Players gain the ability to vote on stars and demon difficulty, as well as copy and paste in the editor. Update 1.51 came right after, fixing a bug where saving large levels would make GD crash. 1.6. Released on March 25th, 2014, 1.6 was a much bigger update compared to the previous ones. It didn't add new game modes, but it did bring 2 main levels, Electroman Adventures and Clubstep, the first main demon level in the game. These levels introduced new block types such as breakable and invisible blocks. To unlock Clubstep, you need to collect at least 10 of the brand new secret coins. Each main level had 3 of them, and you could also earn secret coins through the new map packs. Sets of 3 community levels where the 2 through 9 star difficulty packs reward you with 1 coin, and the demon difficulty packs reward you with 2. Finally, 1.6 introduced the auto difficulty, specifically for levels that play by themselves, since many of those had started appearing and calling them easy felt strange. 1.7. Released on May 21st, 2014, this update introduced speed changes with the new main level Electrodynamics. Interestingly, half speed wasn't used in a main level until the next update, but Electrodynamics featured both 2 times and 3 times speed. 1.7 also added the first color channel in the editor, along with editor tabs, 4 different backgrounds and grounds, new blocks, the rainbow trail, new map packs, search filters, and the option to allow others to copy your levels. Another fun fact, in one of the older sneak peek images previewing 1.7, a 2 times slower portal was shown but never added to the game. I wonder if that would have made the icon even slower than the half-speed portal. 1.8. Released on August 7th, 2014, alongside the new main level Hexagon Force. This update introduced the dual mode where entering the portal duplicates your icon with reversed colors and gravity. Both icons jump simultaneously, allowing for creative new gameplay. You could also make your level 2 player mode with the dual, giving each icon separate inputs. 1.8 also introduced slopes, new blocks, and editor features like playtesting levels, free moving objects, and flipping or rotating groups. This was also the first time we got a sneak peek image hinting at the song used before the update's release, in this case, Hexagon Force by Waterflame. 1.9. Released on November 9th, 2014, this was another major update. It added 2 new main levels, Blast Processing and the new demon level Theory of Everything 2, unlocked after collecting 20 secret coins. Both introduced the new game mode initially called Dart by RobTop, but it was popularized and changed later to Wave. The Wave was similar to the ship, going up and down when you tap or not, but it always moved diagonally, making it easier to control precisely. It was also the only game mode that could die from touching solid blocks from any direction at all, including slopes. 1.9 also introduced new regular and 3D blocks, 4 custom color channels, an account system to sync progress between devices, and, most importantly, custom songs from Newgrounds, removing the limitation of using only in-game music. This update also rebalanced many main levels, downgrading their difficulties to better match newer ones. In December 2014, a month later, Geometry Dash was finally released on Steam, letting players enjoy it on PC without emulators. This significantly raised gameplay quality since people could play on higher refresh rate devices. 1.9 is often called the golden age of GD, and it makes sense. The 4 color channels and custom songs opened huge creative possibilities. It struck a perfect balance between visual quality and accessibility for creators to get their levels rated easily. Some private servers even lock GD to version 1.9 because of how beloved it is. It also lasted the longest until that point, almost a year before the next update. Minor patches followed to fix bugs. 1.91, 1.911, 1.921, 1.93, notably adding the smooth fix option to help reduce lag. 2.0, released on August 26, 2015, 2.0 was by far the biggest update at the time. It added a new game mode, the Robot, which worked like the cube but allowed you to control jump height. It also introduced vertical teleportation portals, animated monsters, new blocks, and several new triggers: Alpha, Pulse, Spawn, Toggle, and the most important one, the Move trigger. These were showcased in the new main levels Geometrical Dominator and the Demon level Deadlocked, unlocked with 30 secret coins. Creators now had 999 color groups, text objects, custom Z layers for depth, custom objects, a user coin system, player profiles with friends and messaging, friend leaderboards, and the vault. Waiting all this time was really worth it. The update was full of new stuff, and to be honest, the Move trigger was one of the most revolutionary additions to the game, but in the beginning of 2.0, it was not used very well. A lot of levels had gameplay that was not sight readable at all, but with the time, the amount of stuff it allowed players to do was massive, from custom backgrounds to boss fights to entire animations. 2.0 is definitely the most revolutionary update in the game, only because of the Move trigger and obviously as much color channels as you want to use to make the best levels. 2.1. After a year and a half, on January 16th, 2017, Update 2.1 was released. It added the new main level Finger Dash and the new game mode Spider, similar to the ball but teleporting instantly to the opposite surface when tapped. It also brought many new gameplay objects, triggers, quests, daily levels, 2 new vaults, the epic rating for top tier levels, the Hall of Fame, low detail mode, death effects, gauntlets, sub ratings for demon levels, and the diamond and mana orb systems. Players could now spend orbs in 2 shops. 2.1 focused more on quality of life and cosmetics than gameplay, but it made the game feel far more polished and added a lot of things to grind for. The minor update 2.11 added even more stuff. The community shop for player-made icons, weekly demons, folders, leaderboards on each level based on the percentage, favoriting levels, 3 new gauntlets, and badges for moderators. All of these were quality of life improvements, but players had no idea how long they'd be waiting for the next update. 2.2. After almost 7 years of waiting, on December 19th, 2023, finally 2.2 was released. RobTop changed the date of it multiple times due to more and more stuff being added, but the update came with so much stuff. The new game mode Swingcopter, which also kind of worked like a ball, but it would float in the air and you can change its gravity while you're on it. It also added the most recent RobTop level, Dash. 2.2 also featured a lot of stuff in the game. New vault, 2 new shopkeepers, an FPS bypass option on Steam, new treasure room chests, new gauntlets, a whole new platformer mode, a mode that lets you control the player freely like in a platformer game instead of auto-scrolling, which is also available to play in the tower, 4 new levels that show what platformer mode can do. In the editor, there's also so much new stuff. Free fly mode for limited game modes, spider pad and orb, which teleport the player to the closest available platform above or below, a new green portal that reverses your current gravity, 86 new triggers that includes shaders for levels, camera controls, a scale trigger, a random trigger, reverse triggers which allows the player to go backwards in a level, option triggers to control the player, a keyframe system to animate groups, time warp trigger to change the speed of a level, an end trigger, new background and grounds, new fonts, a new particle editor, over 1,000 pixel arts and blocks, an SFX trigger to play any downloaded sound effects, teleport portals can now be separated horizontally, an auto build system which automatically places custom designs of given templates, a new scale system where you can adjust length and width separately, and so much more. This was by far the biggest update the game has ever had, and it's arguable if the wait time was worth it or not. But because all of the new possibilities GD has now, it became basically a whole new game. The amount of crazy stuff the community managed to pull off is insane. From the most beautiful levels to literal game recreations, GD has never been as popular as it is right now, and became basically an animation studio as well. On 2.201, it added even more options to the platformer mode, a practice mode to it with an option to show the hitboxes of the level. On the next updates, from 2.202 to 2.207, it added more editor tools, fixes on platformer physics, new gauntlets, the NCS was added to the music library with more than 1,200 songs, an event level that periodically is changed in the game, and so much more stuff as well. For future updates, we know that RobTop plans to add more stuff in 2.21, such as explorers, a new demon main level, the map, which will contain user-created platformer levels, a second floor to the tower, custom keybinds, more upgraded UI for the editor, and versus mode will likely be added to 2.21, where you are going to be able to race other people in levels. Sari. For years, the Geometry Dash leaderboard has stayed pretty stable, with top players holding their spots for long periods of time. But in the very first months of the game, the number one player would change constantly. That was until a brilliant Korean player arrived and held the crown for quite a while. Sari. In January 2014, Sari took the number one spot on the global leaderboard with over 2,000 stars. Not only that, but he also became the first victor of the insanely hard demons The Hell Zone and its sequel, The Hell World, even before it was rated. Sari was the first player to reach milestones like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, all the way up to 10,000 stars, all while remaining at the very top. During his time in 2014, he also made levels of his own, such as Collaboration, which helped popularize collabs in the community, and Red World. But in October 2014, Sari suddenly disappeared. Throughout all of Update 1.9, he was completely gone, only returning once when Update 2.0 released to post a short comment on his account saying, "Sometimes," before vanishing again forever. Even during his peak, Sari rarely recorded any of his completions, which raised a lot of suspicion in the community. Looking back today, with everything we know, it's certain that Sari's achievements were hacked. We need to remember that back in 2014, Geometry Dash was only available on mobile, and Sari claimed to have beaten levels like the Hell series and even Silent Club in just a few days. These were levels that took years for other players to legitimately beat for the first time. There's also a screenshot Sari posted while building Red World, showing him doing a straight fly that would have been physically impossible to perform on mobile with the refresh rate he had. This strongly suggests that Sari used speed hacks for his completions. Neptune. Neptune is mostly remembered as a creator known for popularizing the famous V2 series. He recreated every main level from Stereo Madness all the way to Toe 2. He was also one of the builders who helped Sari decorate the original Red World. At the time, Neptune was also considered one of the best players because he verified his own levels, and they were among the hardest in the game. Levels like Necropolis, Deadly Clubstep, and Toe 2 V2 earning a strong reputation as both an amazing creator and a skilled player. Everything changed in June 2015 when a player named Axum uploaded a video exposing Neptune. In the footage, the saws inside his levels would suddenly change the direction of its rotation when he entered certain portals, which was a clear sign that the runs were spliced and put together. After that, Neptune tried to deny the accusations by commenting on his YouTube channel, but the evidence was too strong. Eventually, he stopped responding, quit the game, and disappeared completely from the community. Andromeda. Back in 2015, many players were competing to become the best of all time. Among them was a rising Scottish player named Andromeda. He wasn't just an amazing player, but also a talented creator. He was not only the creator of the hardest circles level at the time, Poltergeist, but was the verifier of one of the biggest mega collabs ever made back then, the Ultimate Phase. Andromeda quickly became known for demolishing the toughest challenges: Cataclysm, ICDX, Breakthrough, and Necropolis. But unfortunately, that success wouldn't last long. Not long after Update 2.0 was released, in August of 2015, Andromeda uploaded a video to his YouTube channel confessing that every single one of his major achievements had been hacked. It's still unclear how exactly he cheated, but it was most likely through speed hacks, since cheat detection was much less advanced back then, which made it easy for him to get away with it for a while. But the story doesn't end there. After his confession, Andromeda decided to keep playing the game legitimately. Over the following months, he managed to redeem himself with the community by rebeating every single level he had originally hacked. Even though he eventually fell behind the newer top players as the game evolved, Andromeda remains one of the most memorable figures from Geometry Dash's early history. Cyclic. The first time he caught attention from the community was when he posted a screenshot reaching 50% on Cataclysm, the hardest level at the time created by G-Boy, which didn't have any victors yet. Later, he managed to reach 86%. Many players were racing to be the first to complete it, but Cyclic would end up being the first one to beat the level. Not long after, Cyclic also completed ICDX. Those were the two biggest achievements at the time, but it was clear that it wasn't enough for Cyclic. He started to feel pressured because many of the top players were coming up with their own levels, Riot with Bloodbath, Andromeda with the Ultimate Phase and Poltergeist, so he had to create one himself. Still in 2015, he created the hardest 9 circles level by far, Sonic Wave, which competed with Bloodbath as the hardest level at the time. It was rated for a short amount of time, but then unrated because Cyclic didn't have a verification video claiming that he didn't record it. After that, he kept completing levels like Abyssar Phantasm and New Cataclysm, and in March 2016 he previewed the Hell Zone, a remake of a 1.2 Extreme Demon that Sari had hacked in the past. But that was when Cyclic's story took a turn. In his verification video of the Hell Zone, there was a frame where his icon disappeared, suggesting the use of start positions in the video. The very next day, Cyclic posted a message admitting and apologizing, saying that both the first and second versions of the Hell Zone had cuts in the videos and were hacked completions. That shocked everyone, including Riot, who confronted him on Skype at the time. It was there that Cyclic confessed to everything. Every single one of his completions was hacked. Cataclysm, Abyssar Phantasm, Sonic Wave, all of them. He would later come back to join some collaborations, like making a part in Misanthropy and participating in 2024's Doggy December, but he never truly returned to the community. Anaban and Team Hacks. This is the only case that someone wasn't hacking the game pretending to be good, but actually hacking into the game's servers. It all started with a secret group called Team Hacks. At first, the group claimed they just wanted to improve the game. They were responsible for tools in the game that we use, like the unlimited objects hack, but that quickly changed. They began creating cheats like noclip and speed hacks, tools that gave players unfair advantages, so in response, RobTop tried to patch the exploits, but every time he did, the team managed to find another way to implement them, until RobTop finally gave up to work on other stuff like the next updates. Things got worse when a programmer named Anaban found vulnerabilities in the game that allowed him to break into well-known player accounts. EVW, Viprin, Michigan, and even RobTop's account. He ruled the game and could update any account he wanted, including their levels. RobTop managed to fix it, and Anaban's last act was updating Bloodbath to his last message. Hacking this game was fun, but this is the last time you'll hear from me. Some will be happy, others might not be. I just want to say one more thing. If you have a dream or a goal that you might have thought to be impossible at one point, don't give up on it. Achieve that goal. Goodbye. After that, in February 2017, a mysterious streamer named The Hacksaw27 started broadcasting live on Twitch, hacking into dozens of Geometry Dash accounts right in front of everyone. During these streams, he broke into many profiles showing he could do whatever he wanted. The Twitch account was banned shortly after. Eventually, it was revealed that Hacksaw was an old member of Team Hacks that took advantage of unencrypted passwords. He merged thousands of guest accounts into a single one named Team Hacks. This caused many old levels to be stolen and reassigned to the Team Hacks account, even the daily at the time. Also, the password of a lot of accounts was leaked in the process, leaking a lot of levels that were not out yet, such as beta versions of Finger Dash, Low Death, and Black Blizzard. RobTop had no choice but to shut the servers down completely to fix the damage. He started restoring some of the most important accounts, but it was already too late. Some accounts were lost forever and some started to be run by impersonators. That caused a bunch of creators that didn't have their account restored to quit the game, like Team N2 did. Fortunately, RobTop managed to increase the security of the servers significantly, preventing any attack of this magnitude from happening again. Noctifly. Just like Sari, Noctifly caught the community's attention by star grinding. Back in 2017, he managed to get 20,000 stars in 3 months and became the top 1 player on the leaderboards. But not only that, he was also an insane player, beating stuff like Sakubin Hell and Red World Rebirth. But everything he built up went down with one level, Zafkiel. Zafkiel was a level both Noctifly and Darwin worked on, and it was a top 5 at the time. But when Noctifly's verification video came out, there was a huge problem. There was a very suspicious freeze with a black screen near the end, implying he cut the video. Soon after, Noctifly would claim he beat Death Corridor Z, Artificial Ascent, and some other super difficult layouts. But here's the thing, all of them had insanely suspicious stuff. It got to the point that a lot of famous figures from the community, such as Riot and Tosh Deluxe, reunited to make an exposal video about him. In summary, his Death Corridor video probably used a macro, his Artificial Ascent video, which he beat on his first attempt, showed more jumps in the end screen than you can actually do in the level. His Zafkiel video had a point where the background cut and changed position. One of his icons in the duel of Sakubin Hell didn't move, implying it was an invisible semi-auto, and he even claimed that he died at 98% on the Health Factory, which is impossible, since the max you can die at is 97. It's kind of funny looking through it, because it really seems that Noctifly wasn't trying to hide he was cheating at all. It was so clear and some stuff was so obvious. In response, Noctifly tried to deny everything, either making dumb excuses or just saying it was a bug. At this point, basically the entire community was against him, and even RobTop himself banned him from the leaderboards and changed his name to Hacktifly in GD, which is pretty funny to be honest. Finally, Noctifly gave up and admitted that every major achievement he had was hacked. He changed his name to Noctalium and quit the game a few years ago. Tosh Deluxe. Yes, the same Tosh Deluxe that helped expose Noctifly. In 2017, he verified the top 5 level Devil Vortex, which was a huge accomplishment for him since he had never beaten anything this hard before. It raised a lot of suspicion. One day, Nepesta made a video pointing out something extremely weird in Tosh's copy of Devil Vortex. It had this bizarre pattern of saws with 54 objects in total at the very top of the level, which no other version of the level had. Nepesta also found that there were exactly 54 clicks in the level that could fake an auto with blue pads, suggesting Tosh verified it in a semi-auto version and put those saws there just to keep the same amount of objects in the level. In response, Tosh made a video saying that the saws were just objects he was using to buff the level, and that Nepesta's video had nothing but assumptions and no solid evidence against him. Nepesta brought a lot of his friends like Technical, Golden, and the entire Demon List moderation team to try to expose him, and this discussion lasted for a long time, for years without a conclusion. Until 6 years later in 2023, when the YouTuber Z Silex found irrefutable evidence. In the section of the wave in Tosh's gameplay, there was a point where the wave touched the ground and particles appeared. The thing is, in low detail mode, which Tosh was playing on, the only way for those particles to appear was if the wave touched a blue pad, not the floor itself, confirming once and for all that Tosh had cheated and used a semi-auto version to verify it. And finally, the case was solved. The guy who previously helped expose a cheater became the cheater himself. Space UK. Space UK was one of the biggest prodigies the community had ever seen. He started playing in 2020 and his 5th demon was already the top one at the time, the Golden, which he managed to beat in just 3 to 4 months of playing. After that, he kept beating extreme demons like they were nothing. His biggest verification was, without a doubt, Slaughterhouse, the level that finally dethroned Tartarus from the top spot. Over time, Space UK ended up beating every single level on the demon list and even won the Geometry Dash awards in both 2021 and 2022 as the best player. But everything came crashing down in April of 2023. The top player, Paco, posted a video pointing out that in many of Space UK's completions, his click sounds were slightly earlier or later than the actual inputs. Even worse, you could hear a second click at the start of most completions, which strongly suggested he was activating a macro to play for him. After that, Space UK admitted that every single one of his Demon List completions was hacked. He had used a simple macro tool called Zbot, and for over 2 years, he managed to fool the entire community. Space UK's cheating was far more impactful than any before. He stole the #1 title and countless achievements from other players, and since the community was already much larger, he also took in a lot of revenue from his videos and verifications, which, to his credit, he later returned much of. His exposure made the community and the Demon List far more alert about cheaters and greatly raised the standards for verifying completions. Exotic. Exotic is an insanely mysterious top Korean player from 1.9. He was mainly known as a star grinder who reached top 1 back in April of 2015. At the time, so many players noticed how strange his progression was. You'd even have big figures of the community that got involved, like Sean, who was the host of Phobos, and Zobros accusing him of hacking his stats, claiming that they saw Exotic getting 40 demons in 20 minutes. After all the accusations, suddenly, Exotic's GD account just disappeared from the servers. It was not only gone from the leaderboards, but you couldn't even find it searching by his username. Exotic went silent, but the next event would shock the entire community. At the time, there was a virus called MERS, short for Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, spreading through South Korea in October of 2015. Exotic changed his Twitter account username to Goodbye to All and posted the following message. Okay, this is my last tweet. Goodbye guys. Sorry, but I have a virus in my body. My last day was incredible, and it's about to end. This isn't a joke. Since then, Exotic just completely disappeared from the community. His Twitter account was also terminated, and nowadays, there are a bunch of impersonators that show up that definitely aren't him. A lot of theories started to be made throughout the years, like that Exotic never had a virus and just faked his death to quit the community, or that he wasn't even Korean, since he never used Geometry Dash World, an old popular Korean forum from the past about GD, or even that the Twitter account never belonged to him and was also ran by an impersonator. Exotic's history is still a mystery, and we probably will never know what really happened to him. Nubus. Nubus is a former Russian player and creator. He started to play the game in 1.7 when he made his first level, GD Electro Auto. He would continue to create levels, and in early 1.9 he made one of the most popular demons of all time, Theory of Skrillex, which he uploaded a video on his channel verifying it. But it was all a lie. In February of 2015, a YouTuber named The Mute Troll would post one of the most famous exposing videos in GD history. It is insanely old, but was one of the first exposals ever made. He showed a bunch of Nubus clips showing and proving that he speed hacked and cheated his completions, such as Theory of Skrillex and him getting 56% on ICDX. This video was also the one that originated the meme at 100% speed, "Does this look possible to you?" from Decode's Wave. After Nubus was exposed and confessed, he showed a lot of discontent with levels like Cataclysm and ICDX. Even though they were hack verified, they were still rated. So Nubus decided to create his own level to take Cataclysm and ICDX from the top spot. Sakupin Hell. Nubus said he would openly hack verify it since he had the right to do it because the same thing was done to the other two top levels. He said it was a challenge to Riot and Cyclic, and it was finally released in June of 2015, but it never got rated on Nubus's account. It's rumored a lot that a player called L Legend is Nubus's alter ego. He is also known for being an old hacker that claimed to beat Sakupin Hell a few days after it was released. When 2.0 came out, Nubus updated the level, nerfing the first wave but adding an insanely hard spam dual wave section in the end to replace the last straight fly. But shortly after, the level was deleted from the server from RobTop himself, since he deeply disliked the level's idea. Sakupin Hell would be verified by Trusta in August of 2016 in a version with the first wave nerfed and with the old straight fly. Nubus quit in 2017 after 2.1 came out. 3 years later, in 2020, Nubus changed his channel to Whoa and deleted all of his videos. He stated on VK, a Russian social media platform, that he will not be returning to the game. Auroris. Auroris, or Aro, is an American player from 2016. He claimed to beat levels like Cataclysm and Necropolis, and also claimed to beat Bloodbath, but that was probably hacked and no-clipped. He also used to participate in collaborations like Universal Remote with Rustam. Auroris would be infamously known for cheating and confessing multiple times. The first time he confessed hacking all of his levels was in April of 2016, where he said on stream that he hacked all of his completions and told RobTop to delete all of his levels, but later he ended up returning to the game. He was also known for being an extremely toxic person in the community and used a lot of prejudice to try to offend others, and would often say extremely offensive things to a lot of figures in the community, such as CrazyMan50. He had a series on his channel where he debunked and exposed hackers from the community, but he was also often wrong, like when he tried to defend Cyclic or expose Sunix, which he would also throw hate on, just because he thought he was a hacker. Auroris would become even more infamous after claiming he verified a Thanatos, the current top 1 at the time, but the video he presented was just one of the worst hacking attempts that the community has ever seen. The video was obviously no-clipped and faked, but for some reason RobTop still rated it and kept it rated even after he was exposed again. He also has footage of him supposedly verifying Sonic Wave Infinity, which was also obviously faked. Auroris' career was based on hate, prejudice, lying, and cheating. He quit the game for good in 2017, but in an AMA done in 2018, he claimed he was a better person, but he still didn't admit he hacked a Thanatos. XN. XN, also known as Nero, is another player and very talented creator. He would start playing Geometry Dash around 2016, where he would beat simple and easy demons such as Decode, Sirius, and 9 Circles. But that would not last long, because in 2017, XN claimed that he beat Bloodbath and even posted the completion of it, but unfortunately, the completion was cheated. Later on, XN would complete it without using hacks. Over time, he began progressing legitimately on Extreme Demons. He achieved 81% on the Hell Factory, 78% on Plasma Pulse 3, 66% on Cataclysm, and many others. Then, on February 7th, 2017, he completed his first Extreme Demon, A Bizarre Phantasm. Sometime later, XN would also claim to beat levels like Breakout, Conical Depression, and Killbot. He would also start building his biggest project in 2018, Abyss of Darkness. He was the host of the mega collab, and it was finished 10 months later, where XN also claimed to verify it. In December of that same year, he was involved in another drama when he allegedly verified Fusion Z with the reason that it was simply taking too much time to be beaten. The final drama that would be XN's last straw was getting involved when he tried to verify innards. But he did not have permission from Cincy, the verifier of it at the time. XN would later apologize and drop the level. Unfortunately for XN, that was the moment he started to be targeted with a lot of videos exposing him at the time, showing that most of his completions after ABP were cheated. His new phase would start around 2021. XN stopped cheating completely and he became a showcaser too. Besides beating more insane and extreme demons legitimately, he also built a part in the official Fireworks sequel, Waterfall, hosted by Vernum. XN's biggest redemption would be in April of 2025 when he beat Slaughterhouse, an insane achievement from him that was confirmed by moderators from the demon list as legit. Nowadays, he is one of the most famous showcasers in the community with more than 500,000 subscribers on his channel. End Level. End Level is another famous creator and player that was pretty controversial. He would start his career already in 2016. His first rated levels were kind of famous at the time, like Ride, Stressed Out, and making a part in F, and he was already known for being a good player back then. His main history as a top player would start when he claimed that he was the first victor of Allegiance, which he also had a super buffed version he was verifying. Later in 2018, in a new YouTube channel, he would beat other extreme demons like Quantum Processing. End Level would get involved in a drama about bloodlust when it was verified by Nobbleboy, saying that it was overrated and that Plasma Pulse finale was harder, which the majority of the community was against. In June of that same year, the videos on his YouTube channel would be once again deleted, mainly because End Level wanted to quit GD. But everything changed in July. A month later, the famous YouTuber Tosh Deluxe would post a video exposing End Level. In the video, he claimed that End Level would always delete his social media when people suspect that he was a hacker, and when Tosh tried to contact him, he even terminated his Discord account. Tosh would show Discord messages with Krazen, who used to be close friends with End Level, revealing that he created a pastebin with male Veronica, another hacker at the time, telling the reader how to speed hack without getting caught, and other screenshots of End Level confessing that he was a hacker. Although the exposal was true, a lot of members of the community, such as C1997, found out that Tosh manipulated some screenshots from 2016 to try to make the exposal look worse than it actually was. End Level would contact Tosh after the video and apologize for everything that he did, saying that he would never return again. But it didn't take that much long for him to come back. In January 2019, he returned to the community and tried to be a legit player for once. He got 86% on Mystic and beat Allegiance legitimately, but End Level would focus way more on his creator career than as a player. He would build levels and make parts of big collabs such as Cognition, Slaughterhouse, Deimos, Tartarus, Super Hate Me World, and Acheron. He would get involved in another drama in early 2020 about accusing Dolphy of hacking Tartarus. He streamed showing a bunch of supposed evidence that he hacked it, but in the end, it turned out all to be fake and it was later debunked. Because of that and the hacking scandal, End Level became a very controversial figure since a good part of the community disliked him. Nowadays, he just participates in some collabs now and then, but he doesn't have nearly as much presence in the game as he used to. Xander. Xander556 is a top player that started to play the game around 2016. He posted a lot of demon completions on his channel, but he truly started to grind the top levels around 2018, where his most notable completion yet was Artificial Ascent. The most infamous point of Xander's career was definitely the Zodiac scandal. Zodiac is a mega collaboration initially hosted by Rico LP, which dropped it because he was quitting GD. The level hosting was passed to Leo Creator X, but he dropped it once again due to lack of motivation. Zodiac was passed to Bionox as the third and final host, who was really determined to finish the level and publish it. When it was finally over, the level went through multiple verifiers such as Wooshi999, End Level, Benji8080, Diamond Splash, and finally, it was passed to Xander as the final verifier. In January 2019, Xander posted a video of him verifying the level after more than 60,000 attempts. Xander didn't stream a single time playing Zodiac, didn't have the raw footage, and the video he posted didn't have any clicks, but even with that, little to no suspicion was raised towards him about it. In June, 5 months later, Xander would drop a bomb in the community by posting in his YouTube community tab that he hack verified Zodiac and also cheated on many of his achievements at the time. Xander mainly used speed hacks, and funny enough, he used N-Level's method of hacking that he posted on his pastebin, which was a method basically impossible for the Demon List team to detect with the rules of it at the time. Everyone thought the level would be unrated after his confession, and handed it to Technical, the real first victor of the level. So with that in mind, Xander updated Zodiac to Satcher's Bob by Sat Squad, a controversial level mainly due to its extreme hate speech from the uncensored version. Zodiac was then updated once more to an impossible joke layout with a remix of The Simpsons opening, when RobTop decided that instead of just unrating the level, he would revert it back to the original Zodiac. Months later, in October, the level was transferred to Bionox's account. The community feels very little resentment towards Xander and mostly respects him, since his hacking scandal led to stricter Demon List rules, including requirements such as click sounds and raw footage. After that, Xander became a legitimate player and kept beating extreme demons and even verified some projects like Junk Realm by Help Pegasus. Demon World. Demon World is the 9th demon ever released in the game, created by Super Hexagon, and it was likely hacked, simply because it was too hard for its time, even though it is a medium demon in today's standards. Remember that we are talking about late 2013, where Geometry Dash came out only a few months ago, so everyone was just kinda bad at the game. And we are talking about an era when GD was only available on mobile, so the game was even harder. Also, Demon World used to have a secret way around 43%, but that secret way would lead the player to a straight fly, which interestingly was the first ever straight fly made in a level. That time was also the time where a player was the closest to 100%ing the game. The OG player PissMC only had Demon World left to complete every single rated level in the game, but unfortunately he didn't do it because the level was simply too hard. Stereo Demoness. Originally hack verified by Majako in February 2014. This level was one of the first to have crafted art pieces and structures, and although they were simple, they inspired more complex structures in later updates. Stereo Demoness was considered impossible when released in 1.5, but in 1.8, Majako updated and nerfed some of his levels. Back on Mountain, Apologeist, Triangle Out, and Stereo Demoness itself, where it was downgraded from an extreme demon to an insane demon. The first legitimate victor of the nerfed version was Crack, and the first victor of the unnerfed version was PG Dillon after more than 7 years since its release. Silent Club. Created in 1.5 by Play, also known as Black P2S Full, this level is the one that started the silent trend, which consists of impossible/extremely hard levels. The level was published on April 1st, 2014, suggesting an elaborate April Fool's joke, and RobTop ended up rating it later. It was the first demon to be at number 1 in the early era of the Demon List back in 2014. Its supposed victor was Sari, which claimed to beat it only 1 day after it was released, even before it was rated. But that ended up being false, since Sari would be exposed as a hacker in the future. After almost 6.5 years later, Luquilizer verified the unnerfed version in October 2020. He accomplished this on the 1.9 Geometry Dash private server, since the unnerfed version did not work in 2.1 due to broken layered orbs. In early April of 2021, he verified it once more in the original servers in a fixed version, which ended up getting rated. Ice Carbon Diablo X. Commonly abbreviated as ICDX, it was created and hack verified by Roadboss in May 2014 in version 1.6. It's a remake of Roadboss's old level Ice Carbon Demon X, and the final level from the Ice Carbon trilogy after Ice Carbon Zust and Ice Carbon Chaos. ICDX kept unbeaten for more than a year until May 2015 when Riot was the first victor of it. A fun fact is that Roadboss, aka Road Killer, recently beat ICDX legitimately for the first time in August 2015, 11 years after verifying it with hacks. Definitely the longest verification in GD history. Cataclysm. Created by G-Boy in December 2014, Cataclysm was the first level to popularize the black and red style for Hell Demons. G-Boy allegedly invested around 80,000 attempts to verify the level, but was unable to beat it, resorting to hacking to verify it. This is when the race to beat Cataclysm started. Many players claim to beat it with video footage like Zoro-Z, Zet, Lyra Bandicoot, and Cyclic. However, they later confessed to hacking it after many suspicions. Cataclysm's first official victor was the OG player Gyron in May 2015. A year after its initial release in Update 2.0, G-Boy updated Cataclysm with buffs, a coin update, and new decorated sections in the level. Riot legitimately verified the update in January 2016. Future Demoness. Another level created by Majako, published in July 2015 in 1.9, but it was once again nerfed by him due to allegations of him hack verifying the level. Future Demoness's original song was The Quick and the Dead by Rude Brat, but it got removed from Newgrounds due to copyright, so Majako replaced it with Supernova by Xtruler so it could be rated again, but because of that, the level is not accurately synced with the song. The first victor of the nerfed version was KoreaQuer in August 2015, and the first victor of the unnerfed version was Atomic in October 2016. Sonic Wave. Created in 1.9 by Cyclic in June 2015, Cyclic had the goal to create the hardest thing the game has ever seen, because he already planned to quit the game before. He made what is known as Old Sonic Wave, a light blue 9 circles, which was by far the hardest level at the time. The level ended up not rated because Cyclic claimed to not have the footage for the verification, just cutted runs. So because of that, a month later, Cyclic deleted that level and reworked Sonic Wave. He made it dark blue instead and buffed it even more. This time, he had a verification video, so the level was rated for about 2 weeks. Some people accused Cyclic of hacking, so in response, he replaced the level with a Back on Track remake known commonly as Cyclic on Track. Sonic Wave was unrated, and shortly after, Cyclic confessed he hacked every single one of his achievements in the game, quit Geometry Dash, and deleted his YouTube channel. After all of that, a race to beat Sonic Wave began, so many top players were invested in being the verifier of the level, with the most infamous fail being Mafiwi's 98%. Until finally, in November 2016, Sunix beat it, and the level was finally re-rated on his account. Fexty. After Cyclic's Dark Blue Sonic Wave was unrated, Fexty became the top 1 demon, created and hack verified in July 2015 by Ozpectro. It became top 1 in August 2015 and was unrated in September 2015 after Ozpectro confessed that he hacked the level. Ozpectro would upload a nerfed version of the level that was around Insane Demon difficulty, but RobTop never re-rated it. In October 2016, almost a year later, Skyjax verified the unnerfed version, which was only rated a year and a half later in February 2018 when the level started to gain more popularity. Phobos. Phobos began as a mega collaboration hosted by GMT Sean. He posted it in a Geometry Dash Facebook group back in April 2015. It was built between 1.9 and 2.0, and when it was finally done, they struggled a lot to find someone to verify it. Even the unbuilders tried to beat it, and in November 2015, Tigrisec claimed that he verified it. The level was published and featured almost immediately. Many suspicions came towards him, especially with the speed he did it. So when he was about to get exposed, he decided to update the level with a free version and the message, "Have fun. Sorry for hacking this. We, the Phobos team, wanted it to be out as fast as possible. And it all went wrong. Once again, sorry." Tigrisec changed his mind and returned the level, this time in a nerfed version. The level remained rated, but later on it got unrated and was deleted from the servers. Months later, in May 2016, Carmel known as CrazyMan50 at the time, would take the project and verify Tigris X's nerfed version where it got rated again. Stormfly became the first legitimate victor of the original unnerfed version of Phobos in April of 2021, 6 years later. A Thanatos. Created in November 2016 by Xenity, Herzillo, and Galo, it was claimed to be verified by Aurorus after 40,000 attempts. Later, it was proven that its verification was hacked. Despite that, the level remained rated on Xenity's account. Sunix was the first legitimate victor of it in the same month, and later, the level was update verified by Xavier in November 2021, after exactly 5 years. The Janus Miracle. Created in Update 1.7 by Megadeer, it became top 1 for a very short time when it was suddenly updated in July 2017. The level was made so much harder and inconsistent, and it was definitely hacked by its creator. Days later, the level was reverted back to its original version. For a long time, the Janus Miracle was considered the easiest extreme demon until it was re-rated to an insane demon. Utopian Delusions. Before talking about Utopian Delusions, we need to talk about the original name of the level, The Last Phantasm. It was a mega collab inspired by a bizarre phantasm by Team N2, built during 2.0 and publicly finished in 2.1. Interestingly, instead of being uploaded as a new level, it replaced a rated medium demon called Utopian Delusions, a 2.0/2.1 core style level that was later re-uploaded in another account. Before becoming The Last Phantasm, the same level ID of the original Utopian Delusions was even hack updated into a free 10-star level. Years later, the player Sashaz verified it in a version that fixed the level, but it was never rated. Battle of the Shades. Battle of the Shades was originally uploaded in October 2015, created by GD Virus. It was just another average rated demon level, but it ended up receiving some negative feedback due to its decoration not being the best. In response, Virus thought it was a good idea to just update the level entirely with a new song, gameplay, difficulty, and decoration. This would be known as the Phase 2 of the level. Then, once again, Virus decided to completely update the level. This time, it was a level with 1.0 decoration and an insanely hard difficulty, which was probably worthy of being the top 1 at the time. But the thing is, it was clearly hack verified since Virus was not a top player, which made the level get banned from the demon list, but RopTop still didn't unrate it, probably because he wasn't aware of it. This created huge drama in the community if creators should be allowed to update their levels after they were rated, and a big part of the community was against Virus. Phase 3 also created a mini race to beat the level between skilled players at the time. Phase 4 was shortly released after Phase 3, which was just an undecorated layout. But what screwed Virus was the fact that the level had a secret way. It was a planned secret way which was supposed to kill you at the end, but with a well-timed jump, you could go over it and complete it basically for free. The level was quickly updated to fix it, but it was too late. RopTop unrated the level right after. When the level got unrated, Virus updated to a level with a 1.5 minute poem, and finally, at last, Phase 5 was uploaded in early 2023. It contains a very glitchy decoration, and it's the hardest of all phases, most likely impossible, and probably will never be beaten. Metaman RB was the first victor of Phase 3 in December 2018. Zodiac. A mega collaboration organized in 2017 by Bionox. The level went through multiple verifiers that dropped the level until Xander supposedly verified it after 60,000 attempts in January 2019. But 5 months later, in June, he confessed to hacking the level, making technical the verifier since he was the first one to beat it on April 9th, 2019, which put him on the map as the best player in Geometry Dash at the time. On May 21st, 2024, the original unnerfed version of Zodiac was verified by the player Nebnoob after 179,000 attempts. Slaughterhouse. Created by Iced Cave and finished in 2021, It was heavily inspired by his old impossible level, also named Slaughterhouse. The level went through multiple verifiers, but due to a lot of them dropping the level, Iced Cave decided to make the verification a race, buffing the level even more. Top players such as Zanny, Trick, and Photonic participated in it, but in October 2021, the top 1 player, Space UK, was the one that verified it. To much of the community's surprise, in April 2023, 1.5 years later, Space UK was exposed for hacking all of his achievements, including his Slaughterhouse verification. Doggy, who was the first victor of the level after beating it in December 2021, was crowned as the verifier. Geometry Dash. The classic Geometry Dash we all know. Released in August of 2013, it was initially called Geometry Jump, but later rebranded. RobTop took great inspiration in the Impossible game, a 2D horizontal runner-style game. It was only released for mobile in that year, with a light version also available for mobile with less features, but in late 2014, it would be launched on Steam as well for PC. The reason it was so ahead of the Impossible game was not only its more vibrant style and more variety with the game modes, but also the level editor in the game. That allowed players to build unique levels by themselves, which was essentially what made GD big, making it limitless. It allowed players to make challenges, art projects, and even recreations of other video games. Each level has a well-timed accompanying song, and the music often synchronizes with the level's gameplay and design elements. Geometry Dash also has a practice mode option that allows checkpoints to be placed that the player can restart from, though this mode doesn't reward completion. In 2.2, RobTop would also add a new platform mode to GD. It was not the classic horizontal runner style game, but one where you could freely control your icon's direction, adding a whole new set of possibilities for creating levels. Since its release, the game has seen numerous updates that have added new gameplay and design elements, levels, icons, and features, and nowadays it contains 22 main levels, 4 platformer levels, and countless online levels. Geometry Dash Meltdown. Geometry Dash Meltdown is the first spin-off from Geometry Dash. It's a free ad-supported app only available for mobile that includes 3 new main levels: the 7 Seas, Viking Arena, and Airborne Robots. Every song of this spin-off was made by F777. The ability to transfer certain unlockable data over to the full version through user accounts is also available for it and all the other spin-off games. A fun fact is that the spin-off games make RobTop way more money because of the ads, and he even plans to release a new one in the future. This and the next spin-off game didn't show anything new that could be made in the game at the time, and it was mostly just to promote the main game. Geometry Dash World. The second spin-off game, released in December of 2016, also for mobile only and also free ad supported. It features 10 exclusive short levels between 30 to 40 seconds long, which must be played in sequence, split into 2 worlds, Dashlands, and Toxic Factory, consisting of 5 levels each. The game is a downsized build of the full version of Geometry Dash, and has twice served as a preview for some new content in an upcoming update of the full version. First with the initial release prior to 2.1, and again with an update prior to 2.2. In addition, once all main levels have been completed, you gain access to user level selections including the daily level, the weekly demon, and other featured levels. Geometry Dash Sub-Zero. Geometry Dash Sub-Zero is the third and until now, the last spin-off game that was released. It was released in December 2017 and contains 3 new exclusive levels: Press Start, Knock'em, and Power Trip. Sub-Zero would be known for being the first spin-off game with actual exclusive stuff, since all the levels were built with 2.2 features such as camera controls and reverse directions, which weren't a thing since the GD version at the time was 2.1. Sub-Zero would also be infamously known because it got its coins updated. 5 years after the game's release, the YouTuber Colin made a video talking about how bad the coins in Sub-Zero were. The video was kinda joking but also kinda true and went viral. RobTop himself saw the video and even commented on it agreeing with the video, and because he already had to update the game because of the changes in policies in the Google Play/App Store, he took this time to update most of the coins and make them way better. Boomlings. Before Geometry Dash came out and became RobTop's main game, he had some other attempts of success that unfortunately didn't work out. Boomlings is the most famous one out of them. It came out in late 2012 and it's a game extremely similar to Candy Crush, but you have those squares with faces called booms that you have to match to earn points. It had a lot of different gimmicks like those skulls, stones, bombs, freeze bombs, and pipes that would spit more booms that made the game even harder. It also had a system where you would buy a bunch of skins with real money, as well as power-ups that allowed you to do stuff like cheat death or get more gold. I guess we were all glad that RobTop didn't transfer that to Geometry Dash. Boomlings also had leaderboards at the time with people's high scores and stats. Boomlings was also nominated for the best mobile game in the Swedish Game Awards in 2012. Unfortunately, in 2014, RobTop couldn't afford a second server for Geometry Dash, so he deleted Boomlings off the App Store and ran the Boomlings server to Geometry Dash. But you can still download the game nowadays with an APK if you really want to. Also, Geometry Dash nowadays has some Boomlings icons that you can unlock and play with, which is really cool. Boomlings Matchup, a sequel game of Boomlings made in 2013. This was the last game RobTop developed before Geometry Dash, around 6 months before it. It was pretty similar to the original in terms of looks, but took more of a direction of a puzzle game where you would see an image and had to replicate it in the least amount of moves possible, moving the boom's rows around the board. It had a bunch of levels, worlds, and modes that made the game even harder. The higher the world number is, the bigger the board was, and the higher the mode was, the more colors there would be. And if you could do it in the least amount of moves possible, you would get 3 stars in that level. The game was definitely rushed just to release something for the Boomlings fanbase at the time, and it is pretty forgettable. Memory Mastermind. Released in January of 2013, it's kinda similar to Boomlings Matchup's idea. It has modes, levels, and worlds. As the name suggests, the game revolves around memory. In the arcade mode, those spheres are going to appear, and when you are ready, you have to click where you remember they are. If you wait too much time, you lose stars, and if you miss too many times, you fail that level. Just like Boomlings Matchup, the board gets bigger and the game gets harder the more you progress. And just like the original Boomlings, Memory Mastermind would also have stuff to buy. Half of the levels, called areas, could be unlocked in a section called Premium that you can only acquire with real money. The color mode is the same deal as the arcade mode, but you also gotta remember the colors of each sphere, not only where they were, making the game even harder. And there was even a challenge mode that would show you different arrows and symbols that would require you to move the spheres set up to where they would tell you to. It's a very fun game overall and great to challenge your brain. Forlorn. Around 2012, before becoming RobTop, Robert operated Rune Digital Games with 2 other friends. While there, they would make 2 games. Forlorn was one of them. It was a full adventure mobile game and honestly pretty well made for the time. You control this mage guy here and you have to travel through multiple areas while fighting enemies and bosses. It had great potential and it's pretty sad that it was discontinued. The game was so good that it won the Swedish Game Awards from 2012 as the best mobile game. Besides controlling the mage, you would have a health bar, could throw fireballs at the enemies, use items such as potions, and even a sword that you would eventually get to attack enemies while being melee. This game was definitely an inspiration to GD's platformer mode, since you would even have a section pretty similar to the fire in the hole part in the main level, the sewers, where you pass the stage in an elevator. Unfortunately, with the group separating and with the time, the game was discontinued and the files of it were lost, making it pretty much unplayable, until 2023, where a beta testing program called Test Flight was leaked, and a bunch of games were available from that time to the public, including some older versions of Angry Birds and Forlorn itself. But there was a problem. The file type of the games were in .ipa, so you could only play it if you had an old iPhone. Colin also would make a live stream playing the game, and you can watch the entire playthrough on his channel. Kingdom Escape. Kingdom Escape is the second game Rune Digital Games made, and only from watching its gameplay, you can already see some Geometry Dash inspiration from it. The lore of the game is basically that you are running from a princess that was turned into a monster. The game was never officially released, but recently we got some concept art and videos from it from one of the developers that worked with RobTop on it as well, like other designs they planned for the monsters. The game had a lot of mechanics that we can see in GD nowadays. Besides the 2D horizontal runner style game, it even had stuff like gravity changes and spikes. Unfortunately, you cannot play it nowadays, and there's no APK version of it or anything like that. Bounce Ball Thingy. Bounce Ball Thingy is the first known game that Robert developed in around 2010. As the description of it mentioned, it was just a test game he did on Flash. You have to control this ball and go through the platforms to reach the end. Just like Forlorn, you can also see GD's platform mode even took some inspiration from its initial mechanics. Playing with the ball, you'd have some different obstacles like lava and those evil twin brothers. The game is insanely short, but a very fair prototype for his developer career. The first top players. Back in the early days from update 1.6 to early 1.9 around 2014, there wasn't nearly as much competition for the top spots as we see today. That's why it's a bit hard to say exactly who the best players were, but we do have some names that might sound familiar: Andromeda, Neptune, Seri, Zobros, and Alex Payne. These were the first players who started beating the early Insane and even the first Extreme Demons in the game. Unfortunately, all three of the Korean players ended up being exposed as hackers later on, since cheating was much more common back then. That left us with Alex Payne and Zobros as the first legitimate top players. Especially before early 1.9, both of them were already making huge progress in Iconic Demons. But everything would change with the arrival of two players who took the game to a whole new level. Riot versus Cyclic. In December 2014, G-Boy posted a preview of a new insanely difficult level called Cataclysm. When it was finally uploaded in 2015, many players rushed to try it, but by April, a promising Korean player named Cyclic posted a screenshot reaching 50% on the level, and later, he managed to reach 86%. At the time, several players were racing to be the first to complete it, including Smokes, Sandstorm, and of course, Riot, who had already shown his skill by becoming the second person to beat Deadly Clubstep. Cyclic would end up being the first one to beat Cataclysm. Soon after, Riot would also beat it, and on top of that, he became the first victor of Ice Carbon Diablo X, an old 1.6 level once considered impossible. Not long after, Cyclic also completed it. By this point, both players had beaten nearly every major challenge in the game. Then in June 2015, Riot posted a preview of a massive new mega collab called Bloodbath. It was designed as a much harder sequel to Cataclysm. Feeling the pressure, Cyclic also began creating a level of his own, the hardest 9 circles level by far, Sonic Wave. But here's the problem. When Cyclic verified it, he claimed he didn't record his full run, and instead, he uploaded only cut sections on his channel, which raised a lot of suspicion, especially considering how fast he supposedly verified it. Because there was no real verification video, Sonic Wave ended up unrated. Meanwhile, in August 2015, Riot officially verified Bloodbath, a level that would remain unbeaten for 7 months. Cyclic, on the other hand, kept completing levels like A Bizarre Phantasm and New Cataclysm, and in March 2016 he previewed the Hell Zone, a remake of a 1.2 demon. But this is where everything changed. In his verification video of the Hell Zone, there was a frame where his icon disappeared, suggesting the use of a start position in the video. The very next day, Cyclic posted a message admitting and apologizing that both the first and second versions of the Hell Zone had cuts in his videos and were hack verified. That shocked everyone, including Riot, who confronted him on Skype at the time, and it was there that Cyclic confessed everything. Every single one of his completions was hacked. Cataclysm, A Bizarre Phantasm, Sonic Wave, all of them. After that, Cyclic deleted his channel and Riot realized the truth. He had been the top player all alone the entire time.
No, it cannot be real. I've been competing with a hacker the whole time. What is the point? What is life?
Riot's last big completion during his peak was verifying Red World Rebirth. Later on, he reduced his activity due to finger pains, but not before joining one of the most important races in Geometry Dash history, Sunix. With Cyclic exposed, the community's interest in Sonic Wave skyrocketed. Suddenly, a lot of top players were racing to be the first victor and verifier of the level. Among them were Riot, Trusta, and a rising player named Sunix. Sunix had originally gone by the name Deem when he started playing Geometry Dash, and he quickly got attention for how fast he grinded through demons. In August 2016, he beat Cataclysm and casually called it just a very hard demon. After that, he started destroying extreme demons one after another, beating Conical Depression, A Bizarre Phantasm, Red World Rebirth, ICDX, Fexty, and Bloodbath, all within about a month. He first became infamous for making multiple joke versions of Bloodbath. There was a green version, a yellow version, a blue version, and even one where every object was set to 10% opacity. After all of that, he officially changed his name to Sunix and moved on to even bigger challenges. He beat Sock Up in Hell, which had just been verified by Trusta, and became the first victor of a Thanatos after Xenity's hacked completion. Both of these levels were already harder than Bloodbath. But then, in the span of just 1 week, Sunix completely shocked the community. First, he became the first victor of Catabath, a massive 2XL level that combined both Cataclysm and Bloodbath. Then, he finally won the race for Sonic Wave. His speed was so unreal that people started calling him non-human or simply a robot. From there, Sunix just harvested the entire demon list and basically every other hard level that came out. Yatagarasu, Artificial Ascent, Allegiance, Blade of Justice, Erebus, Carnage Mode, Glowy, Digital Descent, Quantum Processing, Killbot, Plasma Pulse Finale, you name it, he beat it. In December 2017, he verified Gamma, which was placed at number 4 on the demon list at the time. At that point, Sunix held the longest streak in GD history. He had beaten all 49 of the hardest demons in the game. After that, he slowed down a little, but his next major challenge came in mid-2018, Bloodlust. Bloodlust had taken Nobbleboy 1.5 years and over 120,000 attempts to verify. Sunix beat it in just 2 weeks, but this caused huge controversy because Sunix had used an FPS bypass, which at the time was not allowed by the demon list and was considered by many to be cheating. Funny enough, today, FPS bypass is literally an official tool built into the game. After that, Sunix reduced his activity again, only beating a handful of extremes and making some content over the course of a year. But in August 2019, he surprised the community for the last time by being the first victor of After Catabath, the final part of the trilogy combining Cataclysm, Bloodbath, and Aftermath into one massive level. Nowadays, Sunix has quit Geometry Dash entirely, saying he lost interest years ago, but during his peak, his speed, consistency, and dominance made him one of the most legendary players the game has ever seen. N-Swish. N-Swish started his career very quickly, already beating extreme demons in early 2017. He became known for using very few attempts to complete them. For example, he beat Zafkiel in only 600 attempts, and on the very same day, he completed Artificial Dream in just 700. His initial rise that caught everyone's attention came in December 2018 when he beat Plasma Pulse Finale in only 13,000 attempts. After that, he crushed Bloodlust, Gamma, Sonic Wave, Yatagarasu, and Erebus. By mid-2019, he was destroying new extremes as soon as they released. He beat WoW by Trusta in just 5,000 attempts, followed by Koa Reda, Crimson Planet, Zodiac, Lucid Nightmares, Deimos, and Arctic Lights. By this point, he was very close to Sunix's level because he had beaten all 25 hardest demons in the game. By the end of 2019, N-Swish verified Cognition in only a week, and then beat Kinos just 9 days after its release, taking him only 10,000 attempts compared to Nepesta's 135,000. The following year, he set his sights on the next number 1, Tartarus. Then in April, N-Swish verified what would become his most iconic achievement, the Golden, which took him around 50,000 attempts and gave us one of the most memorable reactions in GD history.
I verified the Golden, let's go. Finally.
In September of that same year, N-Swish accomplished something nobody else had done before. He completed the entire main list, all 75 hardest levels in the game. Not even Sunix had done that. It wasn't a surprise for anyone that he won the GD Awards from 2020 as the best player. Shortly after, he disappeared without much explanation. He never revealed many details about his personal life or why he suddenly vanished. He eventually returned in December 2021, streaming attempts on levels like Firework and even reaching 51% on Sakubin Circles. He also beat new record in Hard Machine. It was obvious to everyone that the #1 player was back and ready to reclaim his spot. But then, N-Swish disappeared again. This time, once and for all. Years later, in September 2023, a player named rsliced uploaded a video accusing N-Swish of hacking. He claimed that N-Swish used a method very similar to, spoiler alert, the one Space UK would later be accused of. The evidence was based on click inconsistency in his completions. The video sparked massive drama, and in response, N-Swish deleted all of his socials except his GD account. Later, it was discovered that the evidence in rslice's video was manipulated. He had misaligned the audio tracks himself, which created the illusion of cheating. He then privated the video. Not long after, a strange post appeared on N-Swish's account saying, "cheated." It was quickly deleted, and another message followed claiming that his account had been hacked after his password was leaked, insisting that he had never cheated any of his completions. The last message we ever got from N-Swish was, "Hi guys, I did not cheat in the game or cheat on my wife, lol. I'm doing fine by the way. Deleting everything was a personal choice that I stand by." Space UK. He started playing Geometry Dash pretty recently, around 2020. From the very beginning, his progress was absolutely insane. His first demon was Decode, and right after that, he jumped straight into Windy Landscape, jumping again to Cataclysm, and then again to Wasareta. So in just 4 completions, he was already beating a top 20 demon. And then came his 5th completion. It was none other than the Golden, which was the #1 demon at the time. He managed to do all of this in just 3 to 4 months, making him arguably the biggest prodigy the game has ever seen. After that, he just kept beating extreme demons like they were nothing. His most iconic verification was without a doubt Slaughterhouse, the level that finally dethroned Tartarus from the top spot. And of course, that's where his legendary cough reaction comes from.
I can't fucking react, otherwise I'm gonna cough so much.
Over time, Space UK ended up beating every single level on the demon list. Kiyuki, Arcturus, Sakupin Circles, Crimson Planet, Kinos, Tartarus itself. The only player who managed to do that was N-Swish. On top of that, Space UK also won the Geometry Dash Awards in 2021 and 2022 as the best player. But everything came crashing down in April 2023. Paco, the verifier of Silent Clubstep, uploaded a video exposing Space as a cheater. In many of Space UK's completions, his click sounds were slightly earlier or slightly later than the actual input. Even worse, you could hear his second click at the start of most completions, which strongly suggested he was activating a macro to play the level for him. Shortly after, Space UK went on Twitter and admitted that every single one of his Demon List completions was hacked. He had been using a simple macro tool called Zbot, and for over 2 years he had managed to fool the entire community. It's important to understand just how impactful this was. His cheating was more meaningful than any other exposés before, even Cyclix. Space UK had stolen the #1 title and countless achievements from other players, and since the community is so much larger now, he also stole a lot of revenue from his videos and verifications. To be fair, he did return much of the money he made, so at least he wasn't completely malicious about it. In a strange way though, this scandal ended up being good for the community long term. Obviously, the damage of stealing people's achievements can't be undone, but before Space UK, most people thought it was impossible for someone to cheat their way to the very top for years without being caught. When it turned out he had done it with a cheap, simple tool, it forced the community to raise the standards for verifications. All of this was to make sure that another Space UK situation could never happen again. Zoink. The current #1 player for quite a while now is none other than Zoink. Finally, a top player who hasn't been involved in any major drama at all. He started his career in 2021, making a massive leap by going from Bloodbath straight to Zodiac. That already showed how promising he was for the game. Space UK kinda popularized those insane big jumps in the community, so Zoink pushed himself through Zodiac with over 40,000 attempts. Not long after, he started grinding through some of the hardest levels of the time. He beat Deimos, Cold Sweat, Bloodlust, Tartarus, the Golden, Sonic Wave Infinity, and eventually Slaughterhouse, becoming the first legitimate victor after Doggy. But being good wasn't enough for Zoink. He wanted to be the very best. To truly earn that title, Zoink knew he had to do more than just beat the hardest levels. He had to verify the hardest himself. In early 2022, Wolves dropped the verification of a level called Acheron after failing at 96%, leaving the challenge open to anyone who could finish it. This was Zoink's chance to prove himself. But he wasn't alone. He was competing against other top players like 1Alpha Helix, Doggy, and even Space UK. Zoink wasn't just competing against a hacker, but he also was playing Acheron in a buffed version, which not only would make it harder than Slaughterhouse, but much harder. In August, Zoink finally did it. He verified Acheron as the new #1 demon, and in early 2023 he achieved the impossible. He surpassed Space UK in points on the demon list, officially becoming the #1 player in the world. For the second time in Geometry Dash history, a top player was so good he even won a rivalry against a hacker, proving just how skilled he really was. Since then, Zoink has continued to dominate. He currently holds the record for the most #1 demon verifications with 4 in total: Acheron, Avernus, Tidal Wave, and now Thinking Space 2. He has held the title of verifier of the hardest level in the game since 2022, more than 3 years straight, and today he has a lead of over 1,300 points above second place. Blast CFB. The Argentine Blast was one of the first top players on Pointer Crate's stats viewer when the site released in 2017. He started to play the game as a classic Demon Slayer, but later on, between 2015 and 2016, he began to beat harder challenges like Supersonic, Windy Landscape, Acropolis, and Ultrasonic. In 2016, Blast would already start to beat extreme demons like Cataclysm and the Ultimate Phase, but in April, he announced his biggest level yet, Acropolis, an extreme demon which was a remake of Acropolis, an unrated level with a difficulty of around 9 stars. Before verifying it, he also beat Acropolis, New Cataclysm, Crimson Clutter, and A Bizarre Phantasm. Finally, in July of 2016, he verified Acropolis, which was not only his hardest achievement at the time, but also would be the top 1 demon as well. If RobTop had rated it, which he didn't until nearly 9 years later, in 2025, making it the extreme demon that took the longest to be rated in GD history. Blast would also be one of the first victors of Bloodbath, as well as Betrayal of Fate, ICDX, Red World Rebirth, The Hell Factory, Conical Depression, Phobos, Athanatos, Sock in Hell, and Sonic Wave, with all of this still being in 2016. In 2017, Blast would keep playing and beat top levels like Artificial Ascent, Hatred, Infernal Abyss, and Yatagarasu, but everything unfortunately came down in that same year. Blast would stay inactive for a few months until May, when he posted a video called Inactivity, saying that he didn't feel like playing GD and was quitting playing Extreme Demons. After uploading this video, Blast drastically reduced his activity in the game and quit. He still shows some signals that he is still alive, like giving a heart to a comment from Mr. Spaghetti when Acropolis got rated. Wooshi. Wushi999 is a top player from 2017 and 2018 that was not only known for his insane skill at the time, but also how fast he beat hard demons. One of his first uploads was of him already being the first victor of Erebus, which was the top 1 at the time. He also beat Zafkiel, Deception Dive, Hatred, Digital Descent, and one of his most notable achievements, he was the first victor of Blade of Justice only 2 hours after it was uploaded. Wushi would become top 1 in the stats viewer in August of 2017. More levels like Yatagarasu, Gamma, and Sakuben Hell were all beaten before his greatest completion, Crimson Planet. After months of grinding, he finally verified it in May of 2018, which would have been top 1, only if RobTop had rated it earlier, but it got rated almost a year later in 2019, months after Zodiac took the top spot. A fun fact is that Crimson Planet became top 1 for a very short amount of time when Xander randomly decided to update the level after he was exposed. Wushi also verified Lucid Nightmares and its sequel, Concaved Memories, as well as Ikaros, and he also beat Plasma Pulse Finale and Sonic Wave. Unfortunately, in 2019, Wushi started to reduce his activity in Geometry Dash and didn't keep up with the top play level. He mostly returned to the game in 2023 to verify Amalgam, which is considered slightly easier than Crimson Planet, and recently, in 2025, he verified Death Wish, which is considered his hardest achievement, but unfortunately, it hasn't been rated yet. Diamond Splash. Formerly known as Diamond Block, he is definitely one of the most impressive players in GD history. He has managed to keep up with the current top play level since 2016, where he was already beating top demons like Plasma Pulse 3, Bloodbath, Allegiance, and Artificial Ascent. 2017 was one of his most active years and when he was in his prime. He beat so many extreme demons, among them the RGB Trilogy, Yatagarasu, Erebus, and Sonic Wave, Stalemate Redux, Arctic Arena, and verified Special Rend, which was top 5 at the time. In early 2018, he beat Plasma Pulse Finale and Gamma, and later on he would beat even more extreme demons such as Factory Realm X, Blade of Justice, and Verify Epsilon. Diamond Splash would become number 1 in the stats viewer in that same year, in March, but only because Sunix got banned from Pointer Crate for using FPS bypass, which lasted until June, but he would regain his number 1 spot in October by beating Paroxysm, when he surpassed Sunix himself officially. Still in 2018, Diamond Splash also got involved and posted one of the main videos about exposing Tosh Deluxe's hacking scandal on Devil Vortex. This point is when Diamond Splash started to become a bit inactive in the community, but he never truly quit since in 2019 he was still beating levels like Photovoltaic 2 and in 2020, Zodiac. Diamond Splash would return to play the game regularly in 2022, and he proved that even after all these years, he was still an insane player. Since then, he beat levels like Calculator Core, The Golden, Edge of Destiny, Verdant Landscape, Saul Goodman, Sari Never Clear, Damascus, Firework, and in late 2023, he beat his hardest, which is Kiyuki. It sits right now at number 18 on the demon list, but at the time it was top 5. In 2024, Diamond Splash also verified Based After Based, a dual-only level with no spikes which was worthy of top 10 at the time, but it hasn't been rated yet even after multiple sends to RobTop. Nowadays, he is surprisingly still active in the community and is going for a new hardest, Anathema, which is in the current top 10 on the demon list. Technical 49 is also another insane player that managed to keep up with the top player level even after his time. He would start to beat his first extreme demons in late 2017 like ICDX, but it was in 2018 where he skyrocketed. He would beat so many extreme demons like Sonic Wave, Zafkiel, Yatagarasu, Update Verify Gamma, Verify Photovoltaic 2, and many others. The following year in 2019 would definitely be one of the most crazy ones for tech. After beating Spatial Rend, Bloodlust, and Plasma Pulse Finale, in April 2019, he would supposedly be the first victor of the recent top 1, the mega collaboration hosted by Bionox, Zodiac, which was verified by Xander. But unfortunately, 5 months after its verification, Xander admitted that he hacked it. That shocked the entire community, including Technical, which would by default be considered the verifier of Zodiac, although he does not consider it his verification. Unfortunately, 2019 would be the year that Tech would be involved in another drama. In 2018, the player Shuri verified the Extreme Demon Koareta. It would have been placed at number 2 if it was rated. It finally got featured in August of 2019 and placed at number 6 on the demon list. Shortly after, Technical addressed his distaste for the level and his opinion that it was not rate-worthy. This event sparked so much controversy that it was unrated by RobTop only 9 hours after and removed from the demon list. Some people heavily criticized Technical only for giving his opinion on the level, like it was his fault that it got unrated. A day later, it was re-rated and re-added to the list, though this time only as a star rating. One of Technical's biggest achievements was winning GD's 2.1 awards as the best player of the update. He was competing against players like Sonix and Wushi, but still managed to win. Additionally, he beat Tartarus as well in 2020. Technical had a period of inactivity during 2021 and 2022 because of his personal life, but he finally came back to GD in the recent years, beating a lot of extreme demons. In 2024, he beat his current hardest, which is Slaughterhouse, as well as Limbo, Edge of Destiny, and Hard Machine. In 2025, he beat Arcturus as his 300th extreme demon, and now he's grinding Acheron. RG would start playing the game in 2018 and already beat his first extreme demon, Cataclysm. He quickly grinded through the demon list until reaching the top of the top players. In 2019, he would already beat top demons at the time like Digital Descent, Gamma, and Factory Realm X. 2020 is definitely the year that RG started to appear more to the community when he was already contesting for the number 1 spot. Unfortunately, he was competing against none other than Nswish, which at one point was more than 3,000 points ahead of him in the demon list. But that wasn't enough to make RG lose hope. Between 2020 and 2021, he beat so many demons: Crimson Planet, Kinos, Tartarus, Zodiac, Verified Omega Interface, and so much more. He was even nominated as the best player in the GD Awards in both of those years. In October of 2021, RG finally did it. He managed to be the first one to dethrone Nswish after all the years of grinding. Unfortunately, RG's time as the number 1 didn't last long. For a few weeks, he and the top player Spirit X would compete non-stop for the top spot, until the former hacker Space UK appeared and dethroned both by hack verifying Slaughterhouse. The fact that Space UK was so dominant and so ahead of everyone made RG lose a lot of motivation, which could have kept him in the top spot for way longer while he was in his prime. Nowadays, RG still partially plays GD and still manages to keep up with the current level. His hardest is Acheron, which is also insane for someone that has been playing for a long time like him. Trick started playing Geometry Dash in 2016, but he really became part of the new era of players when he began grinding seriously in 2020, and he was only 13 years old at the time. He would quickly grind, going from Cataclysm to Bloodbath to Auditory Breaker, but those extreme demons were nothing compared to the biggest jump Trick would make: Firework. He would start making progress in December of 2020, but he was not the official verifier of the level yet. While he was learning the level, in 2021, he would beat demons like Digital Descent, Wazareta, and Kuzareta. His popularity quickly rose when he became the new official verifier of Firework in April of 2021. He decided to super buff the level, and after months, in October of 2021, he finally verified it. Firework is infamously known for being top 1 for the shortest amount of time in GD history at 18 seconds, since it was surpassed right after by Slaughterhouse, because both levels were rated and placed at the demon list at the same time. But that should have lasted way longer, cause Slaughterhouse was hacked by Space UK, making Trick another victim of him. In 2022, Trick would keep grinding through the demon list. He beat the Golden, Abyss of Darkness, Slaughterhouse, and Oblivion. In the next year, 2023, he verified Cosmos, beat Acheron, was the 3rd victor of Kyuki, the 3rd victor of Silent Clubstep, the 1st victor of Tidal Wave, and in the last day of the year, he beat VSC, the hardest challenge until then. In 2024, Trick would finally reach the number 1 spot on the demon list after an intense grind, managing to go above Zoink in points, which was insane. Unfortunately, he ended up losing that position since Zoink would surpass him again, after months of both of them disputing the top spot. In February 2025, Trick would upload a video on his YouTube channel saying that he officially quits from playing the game due to partial burnout and the need to try new different things that are unrelated to Geometry Dash. He would also drop the Amethyst verification, which would be passed to W Popoff. But that wouldn't last long, since in June, he would return to top play, beating Anathema and claiming that while still technically retired from list grinding, he has decided to continue playing top levels for his own enjoyment. Nowadays, Trick sits at the number 3 spot on the Pointer Crate stats viewer and still seems to be playing the top levels, since he has very good progress on Flamel and Thinking Space 2 and might be one of them soon. He is also doing a challenge to stream every day for 100 days, and he's on day 14 so far.
Zobros. Zobros is the first ever player creator GD ever had, someone who is both good at creating levels for the current standards and a top player. He is an ancient player all the way back from 2014 and arguably the first ever solid top 1 player in GD history. His first uploads were already him beating extremely hard demons like Ascended by G-Boy and most of Majako's levels. Those were insane achievements for that time, despite them being only hard demons. In January of 2015, he uploaded his first ever level, Atlas V2. Heavily inspired by Funny Games' Atlas, he made it for a TG contest, and he only made a video of it because it got rated. Later in that month, Zobros would upload one of the most famous levels of all time, 9 Circles. Zobros himself said in the description that the level was hard, but wasn't good. Ironically, 9 Circles became the biggest trend in GD history. Till this day, we got Circles levels being made even after 11 whole years since its release. It was at this point that Zobros' name was in the spotlight for the entire community and already marked him as a legend. During 2015, Zobros would keep beating hundreds of demons until he beat his first insane demon, a deleted level by Cyclic formerly known as NotVixios, Ice Cream, and in the next month, Zobros built and verified his next masterpiece, Acropolis. He took more than 7 hours to verify it on stream, but finally did it, marking it as his hardest achievement for a while. Throughout 1.9, Zobros collabed with other big creators as well, such as Triaxis to create Forsaken Neon and Etzer to create 8.0, while also creating and beating many more insane demons like Alphabet X, Swing Squad, and Clubstep Nightmares. Zobros would often beat those levels in an insanely low amount of attempts and always call them easy, which became a gigantic meme in the community at the time, since he would also often write that in the level's descriptions. When 2.0 came out, Zobros didn't slow down. He was the first person to ever upload a deadlocked completion and kept building levels such as Luminum, another insane demon, and he also made coin updates of most of his levels like Forsaken Neon and Acropolis. He also was known in the community for being one of the people that RobTop would basically rate anything that he uploaded. A lot of levels that Zobros only did for fun and intentionally were bad got rated, like Well Then, Gravity Zero, and Love Baba, when not even himself expected that. Speaking of Love Baba, it was a level that he uploaded as a joke on April 1st, 2016. It's a decently structured level in the first half, but it's followed by a hard mess and an orb spam in the second half. Zobros himself admitted that the level was bad on purpose, and jokingly said that if Love Baba didn't get rated, he would quit the game, which ironically got rated by RobTop. In June 2016, he uploaded a video saying that GD wasn't as fun for him anymore and that he couldn't play for more than 10 minutes without suffering from finger pain because he had a disease called tenosynovitis. At that time, he had a creator contest where he had to announce the winners, but the pain was so severe that he had to use auto versions of the levels to showcase them because he was not able to play the game. One of his last collabs was 9 Circle X, before quitting the game in 2017. Until almost 9 years later, in 2025, Zobros returned to the game out of nowhere. He made a video saying he wouldn't be as active in the community as before, but he would eventually build a new level in 2.2. He also beat his first extreme demon ever, Bloodbath, as well as Black Blizzard. Nobbleboy. Just like Zobros, Nobbleboy created one of his first levels in early 1.9, around December 2014, which was Dark Rainbow. It was not the most pretty level in the world, but would already preview Nobbleboy's main style. In 2015, Nobbleboy grinded through a lot of impressive achievements at the time, such as 9 Circles, Windy Landscape, and Breakthrough, while building his first ever featured level, Crystal Field, Clearly an insane jump in visuals from Dark Rainbow. When 2.0 came out, this is when Nobleboy really took off as a great creator and player. His first notable creation was a remake of Dark Rainbow called Dark Rainbow Rebirth. It was insane for an early 2.0 level, and you could really see the evolution of his style. He would once again shock the entire community when in May 2016, he released The Furious, another insanely decorated level, with the first part consisting of a mechanical style, and the second one with amazing backgrounds and his classic rainbow style. But Nobleboy wouldn't stop there. After building those amazing levels, he started to grind a lot of extreme demons, the Hell Factory, Cataclysm, and the hardest level at the time, Bloodbath. It was around that time that Nobleboy picked up his biggest challenge by far, Bloodlust, an insane remake of Bloodbath with an extension made by Manix and many more creators. Its previous verifier Quasar dropped the level and it was passed to Nobleboy, which took him 1.5 years to verify. While he was practicing it, he beat levels such as a Thanatos and participated in other projects like building a part in Subterranean Animism. In February 2018, Nobleboy finally verified Bloodlust. He previously had a 98% fail, and during the verification progress, would often complain that it wasn't for fun anymore, and verifying the level felt more like a job than anything else. Bloodlust was placed as the #1 demon at the time and made Nobleboy's career take off again. After that, throughout the years, he kept participating in so many projects in the community, like Singularity, Molten Gear, Ragnarok, Ouroboros, and one of his next masterpieces, God Eater. God Eater was another incredible level he worked on and had so much more attention to detail. Nobleboy based it on the RPG franchise also named God Eater, which ironically ended up backfiring on him after the level was uploaded because he got copyrighted by God Eater developers themselves. He was forced to remake an entire section of the level as well as renaming the level to Astral Divinity. Nowadays, Nobleboy greatly reduced his activity in GD, and we are all still waiting for the final outcome for Orochi, but he remains as one of the most notable players and creators the game ever had. Karma L. Karma L is formerly known as Crazyman50, and just like Zobros, he is known for the meme that RobTop would rate anything that he would post. Ironically, his career as a creator started with the level Alive, which was entirely given to him by Galzo, but that wasn't enough for Crazy. He had to be a little troll and add a straight fly right in the end of the level, just to say he built a part in it. You would think his next levels are original creations, right? Well, not exactly. Crazy uploaded a mini trend of making every RobTop demon completely invisible. He just copied the level, put an alpha trigger with 0% opacity in all of it, and verified it. He did it for Clubstep, Toe 2, and especially Deadlocked because it even got rated. But after those stages, Crazy Man would shock the entire community by introducing his unique creating style by making levels like Lit Fuse and Rearmed, a rework of an old level made by himself. His creation style was so different from anything else, especially with how smaller the community was. It was mainly focused on the effects but never lacked anything else. Right after, Crazy had a break from being an amazing creator and uploaded Conical Depression, a layout of a super non-orthodox layout that was top 2 at the time, showing how good he was as a player too. Despite not having decoration and a super strange gameplay, RobTop still rated it. Right after, Crazy Man got an insane challenge for himself, Phobos. Phobos is a mega collaboration hosted by GMT Sean. The level went through multiple verifiers until it was hacked. After the exposal, Phobos was left behind since there was no one to verify it. Until Crazy Man picked it up, and in May 2016, he beat it. It's kinda insane talking about this achievement at the time, because when he verified it, it was placed behind Bloodbath in the demon list, when actually nowadays, it is considered harder than it. So Crazy verified a top 1, and what makes it even more insane is that it was on 60 Hz. Bloodbath was verified by Riot in 144 Hz, and both had a very similar amount of attempts between 25k and 30k. There is an argument to be made that Crazyman50 might have been the top 1 player in his prime, but pretty much all the top levels that he beat would be the ones he uploaded, so it is kinda hard to make a comparison. After that, Crazy would upload banger after banger after banger. Heartbeat, Falling Up, High, collabs like Valor and Elite Z Rebirth. The influence that Crazyman50 had was insane. He could pretty much make any music artist famous in the community by just using one of his songs in his levels. But in 2017 was when things took a big turn. Crazy Man worked for months to build not only his hardest, but his best level, Black Blizzard. It was an intense atmospheric level that also got attention because of its song. Crazy also had another level that, for some reason, caught a lot of attention from the community. An extreme demon parody version of the 9-star level High Life called Low Death. But in late February of 2017, his Geometry Dash account, among many others, was breached, and Crazy's password was leaked to the public, giving everyone access to his account, and various unfinished levels, including Black Blizzard and Low Death, were uploaded. At that time, unfortunately, Crazy was always being bombarded by the same comments about Black Blizzard, people leaking the song, and he wanted to make it a secret before the level was released, and people over asking about its difficulty. All of those events ended up in Crazy nerfing Black Blizzard so he could release it, and Low Death completely dying, at least for now. Between 2017 and 2018, he would finally change his name to Karma L and keep releasing many bangers, levels like Hungry Humphrey, Steel Gear, and XO, which would get millions and millions of views. Just like Zobros, Karma L would slowly lose interest in GD and reduce his activity. On April 1st, 2020, he out of nowhere verified and uploaded Low Death, getting millions of views due to how shocking it was that he revived that level, which ended up getting rated as well. Till this day, Karma L is still somewhat active in the community, sometimes even hosting creator contests, carrying a gigantic legacy as an insane player and creator. Doggy. Doggy is a prodigy player that started his career already as a kid. His first videos in his channel were already showing a bit of his creator skills, with his first levels like Take Me Away and projects like Bloodbath Infinity, as well as completing many OG demons. He also went into a Fortnite arc by late 2017, but he never truly quit GD because in 2018 he beat Cataclysm, which became his first extreme demon and a list demon. In 2019, after getting a 144Hz monitor, he beat Quest for Perfection, Hypersonic, and Killbot, as well as releasing his new level, Dark, which was definitely inspired by Dansman's style. In that same year, he also beat ICDX, Auditory Breaker, and released his first ever rated level, The Djinns, inspired by a short film of the same name created by his brother and friends, rated just a year later. Doggy was not also known for being an amazing player, but also an insanely good editor and content creator too. He became the editor of Nepesta when he was already good at the game, when he uploaded a video parody of him imitating Nepesta beating Kinos, just before he actually started to grind the level. In 2020, he beat Prismatic Haze before beating Kinos, which was his hardest by far at the time, sitting at number 3 in the demon list. For the rest of 2020, Doggy would continue building his reputation and content as one of the community's rising elite. Immediately after beating Kinos, Doggy began his Extreme Demon Alphabet Challenge, aiming to beat an extreme demon for every letter of the alphabet, which funny enough, nowadays he regrets doing it. He kept beating extreme demons through the rest of 2020, culminating in 3 significant accomplishments in December of that year. He completed Bloodlust, secured his first rated verification with Timor, and in December 19th he was nominated in the GD Awards as the best YouTuber and the Djinns was rated. December 19th became a very important date for Doggy, not only because of 2020, but because in the next few years it also would represent important events in his life. 2021 was when Doggy took a gigantic step in his career. Not only he beat the top 1 and 2 at the time, the Golden and Tartarus, released Gang, a level themed around the Geometry Dash group The Gang, which Nepesta was a part of, finally finished the Extreme Demon Alphabet by beating Zodiac, and again on December 19th, he verified Slaughterhouse, which at the time was considered only the first victory of the level since Space UK wasn't exposed yet, and everyone thought he was the one who verified it. In 2022, he put all his focus on beating the top demons while creating content for them. He beat so many of them like Sakuman Circles and entered the race to beat Acheron. Unfortunately for Doggy, Zoink was actually the one who verified it, but that didn't change his mind about the level. After more than 120,000 attempts and months of grinding, he finally beat it in November. 2022 was also when Doggy started a new tradition, Doggy December, in which he would upload twice a week throughout the month with a hidden completion behind the teasers of the event. In that year, it was the top 5 Arcturus. In 2023, he beat Silent Clubstep as his hardest and his 100th Extreme Demon after more than 120,000 attempts too. In that year, he also beat VSC, the hardest challenge at the time, making him the second player ever to have completed both the #1 demon and the #1 challenge. He would also upload the Jins 2, a sequel to his first rated level, and beat Firework as his hidden completion in Doggy December. Update 2.2 also released during Doggy December on the 19th, making this edition especially memorable. In 2024, Doggy would face his biggest challenger by far yet, Grief, a prequel to Slaughterhouse and definitely top 1. There's a lot of lore and history because he has been playing it for almost 2 years now, has more than 300,000 attempts, and 83% in progress. Doggy already talked about Grief multiple times and how much he is tired of it. He already took multiple breaks throughout the years, so he doesn't go insane, but he is definitely doing it more for the community and his fans than for himself. Doggy is also using the mod Click Between Frames to verify it, which will probably be the cause that RobTop is not going to rate it, but at this point, Doggy doesn't really care. Doggy December 2024 returned with a new twist. Every video included a special guest. While the trailer revealed 4 of them, the remaining 5, including the final guest, were kept a secret. The finale stood out in particular as Doggy completed Codependence, one of the hardest 2-player levels in Geometry Dash, by controlling both players at the same time. The event was widely praised and proved to be a major success, earning Doggy nominations for Best YouTuber and Best Video at the Geometry Dash 2024 awards, with the Codependence solo completion being the nominated video. Doggy has shown throughout the years to be an amazing player, builder, editor, and content creator. He is one of the biggest gems we have in GD history, and all the content he dropped in the last few years show that. Including in 2025 when he posted his level The End Is Here. The first half of the level is calm, but the second one bombards you with amazing effects and unique concepts, which ended up getting a legendary rating. Mr. Spaghetti. Mr. Spaghetti is a French star grinder and currently top 1 in the leaderboards with more than 350,000 stars. Not only that, but he is also an amazing creator with more than 100 creator points, making him one of the only people to be in the top 100 players and top 100 creators on the leaderboards. He started to play on version 1.8, but his first level ever rated was Easy User Coins in version 2.0, and since then, he has been constantly active in the community, not only creating amazing levels, but having an insane consistency and getting stars. He also formally made it to the top 16 on Pornicrate. His most notable creations are levels like Blue de Baffe and Blue de Luste. In 2020, he reached 100,000 stars, and in 2022, he reached 200,000 stars. He was promoted to Geometry Dash moderator in September of 2021, and on November 8th, 2024, on his birthday, he passed Smithy777 to become the #1 star grinder in the game. Although both of them keep switching spots all the time as #1 and #2, they are so much ahead from everyone else, and probably don't care at this point who is #1. Unfortunately, there's not much lore to say about Mr. Spaghetti besides showcasing all the amazing years and all the work he had in his trajectory to reach top 1. Max Dash. Max Dash is another French player, the top 1 mobile player and a smaller creator. Just like Mr. Spaghetti, there's not much lore to tell about him besides his incredible accomplishments. He started to upload on his YouTube in 2020, beating a lot of demons. In 2023, he beat his first extreme demon, Aku, and grinded through multiple extreme demons. In the same year, he uploaded his first level, Pixel Time. 2024 would be the year Max skyrocketed and showcased his real skills. He became the second mobile victor of Bloodlust, beat Sonic Wave, and released Solver, a level who resumes all the story of murder drones. And if that wasn't enough, he impressed the community once more when in January 2025, he conquered Hard Machine, not only becoming the first mobile victor, but the hardest mobile completion. He also beat Altered Ascent, Cognition, Kuzureta, and his hardest and by far most incredible achievement, Firework, which is currently the hardest mobile level. Max Dash is currently working on verifying a solo level called Absolute End. It's not only harder than Firework, but his best level by far, with amazing effects and atmosphere, and what makes it even more incredible is the fact that he does everything on mobile. Ultimate Destruction. Ultimate Destruction is an incomplete level created by RobTop himself that was a sample used for the teaser trailer for Geometry Dash. The level name was definitely misspelled by RobTop, as you can see in the first frame of the video of its showcase. At that time, the game was originally called Geometry Jump, and a lot of the elements from the level were later used in the 5th main level, Base After Base. The level was never intended to be released as an official level, nor was the music planned to be used again afterwards, since RobTop never actually got permission from TMM43, the creator of the song, to use it on his level. Since update 1.9, the music can be selected for use in user levels. The Hell Origin. The Hell Origin is the 4th and hardest level of the Hell series, created in version 1.2, that contains the Hell Zone, the Hell World, and the Hell Dignity as well, all created by Sone0924. Sone would often get attention from RobTop to get his levels rated through the forum Touch Arcade, back in the early days of GD. Ironically, RobTop would often advise Sone to make his levels easier, like Demon Park, since they weren't friendly to users at all, which Sone just ignored completely. Months later, Son ended up being exposed for not verifying his levels legitimately using a bug at the time that allowed you to verify a level with practice mode, which made RobTop instantly unrate all of his levels, including the Hell series. Sometime later, the Hell Origin disappeared from Son's account, but it wasn't Son that deleted it. It was RobTop that ended up removing the level when he was attempting to clean out levels in the servers that were free. In version 2.1, Stormfly beat and verified a remake of the Hell Origin that was redecorated by a bunch of creators, which is considered around Bloodbath difficulty. Active. Active is a lost level also from RobTop that was going to be assigned as a main level, but was scrapped. It used the song Active from DJVI and was supposed to be in theory of everything's place in update 1.4, but got pushed to the next updates, and it was almost released on update 1.6, but got removed from the game later on. We didn't have any info from this level until the YouTuber C. Volton found a lot of beta unfinished versions of old levels. The screenshots only contained a few orbs and decorations around it, so we unfortunately don't get to see what the gameplay of the level looks like. We also don't know the difficulty of the level, but it seemed to give between 12 to 13 stars when completed. Element 111RG. Element 111RG is definitely one of the most famous deleted levels from GD. In the early days of Geometry Dash, an ambitious community project was proposed on Geometry Dash World Forum by the creator Arco. The idea was to create a level for each element on the periodic table, with players contributing with a certain amount of elements each. However, the project was challenging due to the vast number of levels required and the smaller size of the community at the time, ultimately leading to a big failure. One of the players that was involved was Dark X, known as Wanzoon on the forums, who was tasked with creating levels from elements 111 to 118. Element 111, represented by RG, short for Rowent Genium, became noteworthy because it was a lost top 1 level and probably still today around top 20 difficulty, although it was verified using a secret way. Despite this, the level was obscured further due to its removal from servers, probably by RobTop since players back then were unable to delete levels themselves. This level was famous in forum discussions due to its extreme difficulty and the secret path to its verification, yet it became almost entirely lost as no substantial video or screenshot evidence exists. Dark X's enigmatic nature contributed to the level's obscurity. Although he wanted the level to remain hidden until someone beat it legitimately, he still published the level anyways. He even chatted with another creator called B-Kid to create an auto version of the level, which again, Dark X did not want to send screenshots and videos of the level publicly, so they just communicated through DMs. But in the end, the auto version was scrapped as well because the level was just too hard at the time to make an auto version. Though a complete recreation was never realized because we have almost no info about the level. There were efforts based on available screenshots and speculations of Element 111RG. While some remnants and attempts to restore the level exist, we are probably never getting the entire version of it. In April 2024, the top player Paco was the first one to beat and verify one of the most credible versions from Element 111RG using click between frames, although it will probably never get rated since the level has a lot of sections that are just speculations of what the original one looked like.
Phobos. Phobos started as a massive collaboration organized by GMT Sean. first shared in a Geometry Dash Facebook group in April 2015. The development of the level took place during the transition from update 1.9 to 2.0, and once the level was finished, the team had serious troubles finding a verifier. Even some of the creators attempted it themselves. But in 2015, TagRiceSec announced that he had verified Phobos, after which it was published and featured very quickly. However, doubts soon began to surface, mainly due to how fast he verified it. As pressure built and exposure became likely, TagRiceSec released an updated version of the level, making it free and including the message, "Have fun. Sorry for hacking this. We, the Phobos team, wanted it to be out as fast as possible, and it all went wrong. Once again, sorry." Not long after, TagRiceSec reversed his decision and re-uploaded Phobos in a nerfed state. Although it initially kept rated, the level was eventually unrated and removed from the servers. Several months later, in May of 2016, Karma L, who was still known as CrazyMan50, picked up the project and legitimately verified the nerfed version, allowing it to be rated once again. The original, a nerfed Phobos, wouldn't be beaten legitimately until April of 2021, when Stormfly achieved the first official completion nearly 6 years later. Ice Carbon Titan X. Ice Carbon Titan X was a deleted level that made up a part of the Ice Carbon series created by Roadbos. The level only had around 300 downloads before being deleted a few days after its upload. It turned out that Roadbos actually had around 100 deleted levels that were over the years restored by the Restoration Union like Ice Carbon Chaos and Fantasy. Roadbos quit the game at the time mainly due to a lot of impersonators and people messaging him until in August of 2023, the YouTuber MattMart made a video exclusively about Ice Carbon Titan X. He was very curious to see the level and put a $1,000 bounty to anyone who can get an exact copy of the level. That made a lot of people go after Roadbos to contact and ask him about the level, which, after years out of the game, he came back and recreated Ice Carbon Titan X from memory. It is definitely not the same as before, since Roadbos built it many years ago, and probably did not remember some stuff in the level, but the original version was lost and we are definitely not getting it back. The Last Phantasm. The Last Phantasm was a mega collaboration inspired by Team N2's A Bizarre Phantasm. It was built during Update 2.0, with the level being publicly completed in 2.1, and it had a lot of known creators on it like Michigan. Rather than being uploaded as a brand new level, it oddly took over the slot of an already rated famous medium demon called Utopian Delusions, a 2.0/2.1 core style demon. The original level was later re-uploaded on a different account. Before the transformation into the Last Phantasm, the same level ID had even been hack updated into a free 10-star level as well. Years later, the player Sashaz completed a fixed version of the Last Phantasm, finally verifying it legitimately, though the level never received a rating. God Eater. God Eater was an incredible solo level created by Nobbleboy on version 2.1. It was one of his best levels he created so far since it had so much attention to detail and a very unique style. He based it on the RPG franchise also named God Eater, but that ended up backfiring on him after the level was uploaded because shortly after, the level was deleted from the servers by RobTop, and Nobbleboy got an email saying he was copyrighted from the God Eater developers themselves. The end art and a section of the level belonged to Bandai and was protected by copyright law. We don't have details of how it went, but we know that Nobbleboy even had to hire a lawyer to defend him in the case. It was a big lesson to the Geometry Dash community to not steal art from others without their permission, and Nobbleboy learned it the hard way. God Eater is often compared to Woodkid, another level at the time that also had copyright issues due to its art that was used without the permission from the creators. In result, he had to change the artwork, a whole section of the level, and renamed it to Astral Divinity, so the level could finally be re-uploaded to the servers again without any copyright problems.
Buffer. When your icon is in midair and you hold the button early so that the game automatically performs the input on the first possible frame, that's called a buffer. It's super useful for tight timing sections, especially with orbs. Take a look at this section. This insanely tight section can be done so easily and consistently thanks to buffers that allow you to always click on the first frame in the orbs.
Buffers can help you in multiple orb sections. Instead of randomly pressing the button non-stop, you can just buffer every single orb and always click on them as soon as possible. Botting and showcase. Botting means using an external program to play levels automatically. A lot of them you complete the level in practice mode, and the bot replays only the successful attempts. It is usually for creating a showcase, which is a video that looks like a legit completion which shows off the decoration or gameplay of a very difficult level. Unfortunately, that can backfire into the community since it makes hacking and faking completions way easier. We had a lot of cases in the past of people hacking with botting, like Space UK did. CBF. Short for click between frames, it's a very recent mod on GD that allows your inputs to register in between visual frames, which drastically increases input precision on low frame rates like 60 FPS, but still helps a lot on higher frame rates. There's a huge debate in the community if CBF is cheating or not, but the most important thing is that RobTop, the developer of the game, does not give star rates to any level verified with CBF, but at the same time, he also mentioned he plans to add CBF to the game in the future, so we just have to wait. Collaboration. A collaboration or collab is when multiple creators work together on a level. Each person builds a section and the whole thing is merged into one level. Some of the biggest GD projects ever are massive collaborations with dozens of builders, which are called mega collaborations. Collabs also usually have a host, someone that divides the parts of the song for the builders and manages the whole process. Demon List. The Demon List is a community ranking of the hardest demons ever beaten. There are a lot of different Demon List websites with different moderation teams, but the most credible and well-known one is Pointer Crate. They not only rank the demon, but every time a player completes one of them, sends it to them and the completion gets approved as legit. They get points on the list based on how high the level is, and with that, all players are ranked in the stats viewer as well. Drop. The drop is the part of a level where the song and gameplay suddenly intensify, kind of like the main event. It's the section usually most people remember and where the fastest gameplay usually begins. Fluke. A fluke happens when someone beats a level from much earlier than expected or earlier than most people. You can even fluke from a certain point of the level. For example, if you complete Future Funk without dying at 99%, you can consider that a fluke since a lot of people die there. Big flukes are often celebrated in the community, such as Scaro's 0% fluke on Erebus and W Popov's 33% fluke on Arcturus. Frame Perfect. Frame perfects are jumps where you only have one frame to click on and survive. Depending on your frame rate, a second can have a different amount of frames, usually 60, 144, 240, or 360, so a 60 FPS frame perfect is easier than a 144 frame perfect, which is easier than a 240 frame perfect, and so on. Hardest. When someone says a level is their hardest, they mean it's the most difficult level they've beaten so far. It's a common milestone for players climbing the skill ladder. Hitbox. A hitbox is the invisible area that determines whether your icon interacts with something. There are a lot of inaccurate hitboxes in the game, especially with spikes. Your icon also has two hitboxes, the one outside which is used to stay in contact with solid blocks and kills the players if any spikes touch them, and the inside one which will kill the player if any block touches it. Icon set. Your icon set is the collection of icons, colors, and trails you use in-game. Some players are known for their specific icon sets or colors, and basically became part of their GD identity. Riot, Michigan, among others. Jump. A jump is when you skip from beating one difficulty level straight to a much harder one. Usually in GD, the ideal progression is going up a ladder to get better and better, but some players decide to challenge themselves to grind to a much harder level than their current hardest. For example, going from 9 circles to something like Bloodbath would be considered a big jump. Mega Hack. Mega Hack is a popular mod menu developed by Absolute that adds extra features to the game. Things like no clip, hitbox viewer, FPS bypass, and more. People use it for modding in practice, but using it to fake completions is considered cheating. At this point, basically every regular GD player uses Mega Hack since it has so many tools that help get better at the game and practice levels. Secret Way. A secret way is a hidden path in a level that lets players skip large parts of the gameplay. As the name suggests, they are usually made secretly to complete hard levels, but they were way more common in the earlier days of GD since nowadays it's extremely rare for a rated level to have a secret way. Secret way is also the worst GD channel in the world, and you should definitely not subscribe. Silent levels are extremely hard or impossible levels, or versions like that of normal ones. And the most well-known are old impossible levels like Silent Clubstep or Silent Circles. Spam and alternating. Spam is when you click or tap super fast. A lot of levels have sections that you have to spam, and usually you don't need control at all. Alternating is a technique of switching between two buttons or fingers in rhythm. This is used in more controlled spam sections, and there are a lot of players that are specialized in that. Straight fly. Straight flying is when you keep your ship steady in a perfect line through tight corridors. It's a key skill for high-level gameplay and one of the hardest techniques to master consistently. The best of the best players can keep insane levels of straight fly to go through the tightest gaps. Top player. A top player is someone known for beating the hardest of the hardest levels in the game. Names like Trick, Zoink, W Popoff come up as the most famous ones when talking about the current top players. Transition. A transition is the small section that connects two parts of a level. Bad transitions can kill your momentum or surprise you with sudden difficulty spikes, while good ones make the level flow smoothly. Triple spike. A triple spike is 3 spikes placed together, forming a very tight jump. It's one of the most iconic obstacles in Geometry Dash and a classic symbol of skill for new players. The triple spike was also the main symbol and obstacle used by the OG and former top 1 player Michigan, which said that every level needs a triple spike. He unfortunately passed away a few years ago, back in March of 2021. Fly high, Mitchie. Verifier and first victor. The verifier is the person who proves a level is possible by beating it legitimately for the first time. Verifiers are usually the person assigned by the creator of the level and are the only one with access to play it until they beat it, and the level goes out on the servers. The first victor of the level is considered the first person to beat it after it was verified. It is considered a different title since being the first victor of a level is usually a race, unlike the verification.
Star rate. A star rate, or just rate, is when a level gets seen and recognized by RobTop, so it awards stars when completed. Whenever your level gets rated, you get creator points for it, and you get more the higher rated the level gets. It can go from a simple star rate where you gain only 1 creator point, all the way to a mythic rate where the creator gains 5 creator points.
The auto difficulty is one of the 2 difficulties that didn't exist at the beginning of the game. Back in version 1.1, a creator named Maddie made a level called Best Automatic Level, which is a level that plays by itself. Since RobTop hadn't planned a special difficulty for levels like that, they all ended up being rated as easy 1 star. It wasn't until update 1.6 that the auto difficulty was officially added to the game. Ironically, some auto levels actually require a few inputs. Most of these were rated before 1.7 as easy 1 stars since they were too easy to fit as a 2 star, but when RobTop introduced the auto difficulty, all easy 1 stars were converted into auto 1 stars. This created odd cases like Geese by Czar, which is labeled as auto but actually requires you to play to beat it. Funny enough, that level along with a few others received a lot of dislikes after the change since people expected them to be fully automatic. It's also been a few years since auto levels stopped being made as often, and it kind of makes sense. A level that plays by itself takes away the main purpose of the game, actually playing it. If you just want to watch a level, you can look up its name on YouTube. Modern auto levels are mostly used for animation and storytelling instead of traditional automatic gameplay. The easy difficulty is often known as the user coin farm. If you want to farm user coins, just play some easy levels and look around. A lot of them give coins practically for free. Most levels in this category are meant for beginners with the simplest and most sight-readable gameplay possible. But that also comes with a downside: they are hella boring to play. If you are already an experienced player and try a 2-star level, you might as well fall asleep while doing it. In recent years, the standards for what counts as an easy level have dropped a lot. To get your level rated easy now, you basically need to include no more than 2 clicks. If you add any different gameplay style or even a small gimmick, it will be rated 3 stars instead. As mentioned in the easy difficulty, normal levels are basically what happens to any attempt at an easy level that includes slightly challenging gameplay. If you play old 2-star levels, you will often find them more difficult than modern 3 stars. One of the most interesting things about this category is that, for some reason, many normal levels have demon difficulty coins. A good example is a level called Nizomari, which has one of the hardest user coins in the entire game. The coin route is so precise that it basically plays like an extreme demon. The hard difficulty is the first difficulty that has 2 separate star ratings, 4 and 5 stars. 4-star levels are already an evolution from 2 and 3 stars in terms of gameplay, since creators can include more mechanics without the difficulty rating of the level being inflated, but they are still usually very boring. The biggest challenge while playing levels like Acid Factory or Flappy Hexagon is trying not to yawn in the middle of the run. With 5-star levels, things start to get more enjoyable, but they are also some of the most forgettable levels in the entire game. What is even the most downloaded 5-star level? Oh wait, it's Outer Space. Harder difficulty is where a lot of the banger levels are. Aiming for a harder difficulty while building your level is a great step. However, 6-star levels can be a hit or miss. You either get a masterpiece that everyone loves, like Cataclysm, or utter garbage, like Magmatic Sanctuary. 7-star levels, on the other hand, are like the richer, more polished cousin of 6-star levels. The gameplay is just more enjoyable and very close to an ideal difficulty that maximizes fun. I mean, when you look at a level like Slam by Rafer, it's not hard to think about anything besides masterpiece. If harder 7-star levels are gold, then insane 8-star levels are diamonds. This is usually where you find the perfect balance between difficulty and fun, since the average player doesn't need to spend too much time just to beat them. 9-star levels, however, are almost the complete opposite. They are so close to demon difficulty that many of them actually are demons, but are just rated wrong. They can be incredibly frustrating, and when you finally beat one, you just feel bad because you realize that you could have played an easy demon, put in almost the same effort, and earned an actual demon instead. Back in version 1.2, a player named M2 Cole created a level called Demon Park. That level was so difficult for its time that the insane difficulty wasn't enough, so RobTop had to introduce a new difficulty tier for levels like it, inspired by the level's name called Demon. Nowadays, demons have become so varied that we need to divide them into 5 separate difficulty categories. Easy demons are usually pretty chill and consistent, except for that one notorious part in each level. Problematic's first cube, Decode's UFO, you know exactly what I'm talking about. On top of that, there are far too many easy demons that wouldn't even qualify as demons by today's standards. Many would be insane or even harder. Medium demons are generally more consistent than easy demons, but they can also be far more annoying. If you decide to play an old medium demon, be prepared to face some of the most frustrating timings of your life. If a level was rated medium demon back then, you can be sure it's not going to be free. Modern demons are alright, I guess. For some reason, a lot of them have boss fights. And shout out to Skeletal Shenanigans that in just a few months became the most downloaded medium demon. By a lot. Whenever you beat your first hard demon, you always feel a big step up in the game. A lot of the classic hard demons just help you get better at the game. 9 Circles, Forest Temple, Forsaken Neon just test your skills so much at the game. Also, a fun fact is that the hard demon face is the same one as demons used to be before the demon tiers were introduced. So basically, RobTop was just lazy and used the same icon for it. Unless we're talking about an easy insane demon like Windy Landscape, most insane demons feel like they're designed to just break your fingers. Comparing insane demons to extremes is kind of like comparing 9-star levels to demons. They're just one step away from the highest difficulty, and most of the time they're a pain to play. At that point, it's honestly more worth grinding Aku than going down this rabbit hole. And for some reason, Zobros is the CEO of Insane Demons. He has a lot of Insane Demons rated. At the very top, extreme demons are the biggest challenge you can face, but funny enough, beating an easy extreme demon is nowhere near the hardest levels. Extreme demons are old, very old, and over time, as harder levels were created, the gap between the easiest and hardest extreme demons grew wider and wider. To put it into perspective, the jump in difficulty from Tidal Wave to Bloodbath is larger than the gap between Bloodbath and Stereo Madness. The step is so massive that RobTop should introduce a 6th demon rating just to cover those levels. Extreme demons have been ruining players' lives since 2015, and especially now. Even if you spend months grinding to beat a top 10 level, you'll barely get any recognition from the community. So if you plan to grind one, have in mind that it's purely for your own achievement. When a level is uploaded but doesn't have enough ratings to have a difficulty, it is labeled as unrated. You'll usually find these in the recent tab, and honestly, they're the most random stuff ever. You can stumble upon anything from a single block to a hacked mess, or, if you're lucky, an actual good level that might even be rate worthy. If you ever get bored, it's definitely worth giving them a try.
Free demons, the rock bottom of demons. While not a formal subcategory in the official listings, many people in the community refer to very easy demons as free demons. Levels that are not really worthy of the 10 stars, but still carry the demon icon. Free demons are often levels that you can sight read and beat in a very short amount of attempts, since they offer basically no challenge at all if you are an experienced player. Nowadays, it is a bit difficult for RobTop to rate a harder or insane level as a demon because we already have plenty of them, but years ago this used to happen quite frequently in the game, sometimes even on purpose as a gift for the community. The best examples of these levels are the ancient and very well known The Nightmare and The Lightning Road from 2013. A fun fact is that those levels were re-rated by RobTop in the past as harder and hard difficulty, but the community hated it so much since the first demon for a lot of people was one of these two levels that RobTop reverted his decision and rated them as demons again. Other examples are levels like Shiver or Platinum Adventure. Free demons play a more important role in the game than most people think. Besides being a great introduction for new players into the harder difficulties, they serve as a kind of reward for those players. As mentioned before, the first demon for many people is the Nightmare, which gives players the feeling of progression and improvement, motivating them to keep playing the game. Easy demons. This is the first level of actual demon difficulty. The original demon difficulty was inspired by a level created by M2 Cole called Demon Park in 2013 in version 1.2. It was so hard for its time that RobTop added a new difficulty referring to it demon. So without this level, we would not have demons at all, and the name for them might have been something completely different. Nowadays, Demon Park is considered what we call an easy demon. These levels are very important for helping players get used to demon level mechanics. Most of them contain slightly trickier jumps and spikes, maybe a couple of timing or gravity flip sections, but overall they are relatively forgiving compared to higher demons. While playing an easy demon, the experience is not supposed to give the scary feeling that higher difficulties do. These are perfect for new players who have already beaten their first demons to grind and get used to the game's pace, especially with faster speeds and constant game mode changes. The most memorable examples are the RobTop demons, Clubstep, Theory of Everything 2, and Deadlocked, but we also have user levels like Decode, I Spy with My Little Eye, Death Moon, and X. Easy demons are very well known for having one notorious part that makes the level much harder. Decode's UFO or Problematic's First Cube are good examples. Easy demons are usually the difficulty that RobTop chooses for creating the official level demons and assigning the weekly demon or event level, since they are very accessible to almost everyone in the community. Medium demon. Medium demons are definitely the next step up in demon difficulty because they require more precision and have more complex layouts. They are usually more consistent than easy demons in the sense that the easiest medium demon is not too far from the hardest medium demon, unlike the huge range you see in easy demons. However, medium demons are also usually much more annoying. If you play an old medium demon, it is probably filled with annoying timings and memory jumps. But if you play a more modern medium demon, for some reason a large number of them are boss fights, like Sirius, Skeletal Shenanigans, B, and Ultraviolence. Because of that, many medium demons are memory based, which makes them not very liked by the community. A big part of the player base has their hardest level as a medium demon, usually an easier one like Skeletal Shenanigans, which even though it was released in 2025, it got so popular that it managed to become the most downloaded medium demon. Good job, Skeletal Shenanigans. Hard demon. Hard demons are one of the first big step-ups in the game, and you really feel that when you complete your first one. A lot of those demons focus on getting you better at timings, or just most game modes in general. Forest Temple, Forsaken Neon, just test your skills so much at the game. Also, the difficulty contains a lot of 9 Circles levels. 9 Circles itself, Jawbreaker, Fairy Dust, amongst others. Also, a fun fact is that the hard demon face is the same one as demons used to be before the demon tiers were introduced. So basically, RobTop was just lazy and used the same icon for it. Insane Demon. Unless we're talking about an easy Insane Demon, most of them feel like they're designed just to break your fingers. Comparing insane demons to extremes is kind of like comparing 9-star levels to demons. They're just one step away from the highest difficulty, and most of the time they are a pain to play. At that point, it's honestly more worth grinding an easy extreme than playing insane demons non-stop. Don't get me wrong, insane demons are not that bad, but unless you are beating your first insane demon, it does not feel nearly as rewarding as beating an extreme demon, for example. It's very common to see players spend very little time grinding insane demons and going straight to extremes. For example, beating Windy Landscape, one of the easiest insane demons, then jumping straight to something like Cataclysm or Aku. It makes so much more sense. Also, for some reason, Zobros is the CEO of Insane Demons. He created a lot of them. Extreme Demons. Extreme Demon is the last and hardest difficulty available in the game. The first Extreme Demons were beaten around version 1.9, but little did people at that time know how much they would evolve in the future. The hardest challenges at that time were the easier Extreme Demons nowadays, like Cataclysm, or even ones that were demoted to Insane Demons like ICDX. But funny enough, beating an Extreme Demon is nowhere near the top levels. As harder levels were created, the gap between the easiest and hardest extremes grew wider and wider. Maybe one of the reasons that a new difficulty was never added into the game is to keep the reward for new players from beating the hardest difficulty. An easy extreme is so much more accessible to the community than a hard extreme demon that only the most dedicated players can achieve. Easy extremes are often called legacy demons, since a lot of them were already present in the list of the top 75 hardest levels, but were demoted as harder levels were created. As the time passed and new extremes were created, we had a very big jump in difficulty. There's a lot of discussion as to where the harder extreme demons actually begin, since the difficulty has a huge range, but what matters is that most levels usually take weeks to months to be beaten, and we can use the main list in the demon list as a base for them. Those are not very accessible to the casual players. You have to be very skilled to grind through them, and most players even have better devices to be more precise, since those levels contain so many frame perfects. For reference, the current top one is Thinking Space 2. The difficulty gap between Thinking Space 2 and another extreme demon like Bloodbath is bigger than Bloodbath to Stereo Madness. That's why there is so much discussion about introducing a new difficulty. The top of the top players can beat easy extreme demons so fast in less than an hour most of the time. For example, when Doggy was taking a break from grief in one of his streams, he decided to play the extreme demon Sweater Weather. After playing the level in practice mode, he managed to fluke it from 27%. The hardest extreme demons have been ruining players' lives since 2015, and especially now. Even if you spend months grinding to beat a top 10 level, you'll barely get any recognition from the community. So if you plan to grind one, have in mind that it's purely for your own achievement. Impossible Demons. The last level. Those are demons that currently have not been beaten by anyone, at least not yet. Funny enough, impossible demons also have a huge gap between them. That's why a whole list was created to rank them, the ILL Impossible Levels list. In the list, they rank a lot of the current impossible demons. The top levels like Thinking Space 2 or Amethyst are only around the position 600 on it. A lot of those levels consist of basically only frame perfects. Some of them even require a very high CPS to spam, like Silent Circles, although levels like it are banned from the list since they are humanly impossible. Most of these levels probably will never be beaten, but it's really fun to theorize and see where the human limit can go, and what is going to be the hardest level beaten in the future, since a lot of levels that were considered impossible back then that were verified in modern GD era, like Silent Clubstep. The most known impossible demons are levels like Eternus and Lightmare. One of the hardest levels also banned from the list, Ton 618, was verified by NotVixios.
Congrats, Vic! Recent tab levels. If you already watched any recent tab video from Eric Van Wilderman, you know what I'm talking about. The recent tab is the tab with the most recent levels, so you are going to be playing maps with literally 0 download. Those levels are usually more different than the regular level that we are used to seeing. Recent levels also have the most unstable quality. You can either find garbage like just a block or a hard mess, or find a 10-second masterpiece that could even get way more attention. There's obviously a middle ground too. The amount of different levels in length, shape, or form is gigantic. Most of the recent tab levels are usually players uploading their first levels or just testing the editor. Most challenges can also be considered in this category, especially the shorter ones with low decoration. Funny enough, if you are insanely lucky, you can still find any levels from the other categories on the recent tab. It's like winning the lottery. Decent levels. Now we are entering territory of levels that are actually levels. And by that I mean levels with already a decent length, which is around at least 1 minute, and decent gameplay with usually a variety in game modes and decent structures. The difference between this category and the next ones is that those levels are most of the time not rate worthy. In rare cases RopTop does it, but it's very unlikely. The first attempt of a rate worthy level of most people is here. You can make a playable level with decent gameplay, but usually the decoration makes it not rate worthy. Most likely because the builder is missing some important fundamental about building a good level, such as correct structures, not making the level messy/empty, or color schemes. You can even consider layouts to be in this category. There are a lot of players that specialize in building layouts, so it's really fair to mention them. Some are so surprising that they even get rated, either because they have a really good gameplay and atmosphere like Dancing Moon Man, or because they are really impressive with good effects like Aleph Zero. Rated levels. Whenever RopTop sees a good level that he thinks is worth giving players a star award when beaten, he rates that level. GD has thousands and thousands of levels that RopTop has rated in the last few years. To help him, RopTop signs some active and trustworthy players in the community as moderators, which give those people the power to send him levels that they think are worth rating. Those levels are a step up from the decent levels, with a nice decoration and gameplay at least, but if your level only gets rated and nothing else, it's usually the bottom of the barrel for the awarded tab. As mentioned before, sometimes you can even find levels most people wouldn't expect to be rated here, and to be honest, a lot of controversial ones. In the past, there were a lot of jokes that are kind of true, mentioning RopTop had a gigantic bias towards creators like Kermal, formerly known as CrazyMan50, and Zobros, because he would rate basically anything that they would post. Kermal mainly. He uploaded levels like an invisible version of Deadlocked that got rated, and a super non-orthodox layout of an extreme demon that got rated, and even a level called Don't Rate This Level, which ironically got rated too. But even nowadays, the standards of rating a level are controversial. A moderator and super famous creator called Subwoofer posted literally a 1.0 level, no effects, no animations or moving objects, nothing. Just a regular 1.0 level that got rated, which made the community pissed, not because the level was rated, but because it was an unknown creator. It probably would not even get sent to RopTop. Another recent level from the top 1 creator with the most creator points, Split72, called Iconic, was also a target of a lot of controversies, since it is a level with a questionable gameplay and no air deco throughout most of the level, and RopTop still rated it even though it has way more dislikes than likes. Besides those small problems, rated levels are in general pretty consistent. Featured levels. Just like rated levels, those exist basically since the beginning of the game. Featured levels is the first step up that shows that some levels are just more pretty or just have better visuals than others. Unfortunately, the ceiling of the gameplay quality of a level doesn't go as high as the decoration ceiling. So from here to the next levels, the main difference is the decoration and how complex it is. There is not a certain standard to tell how high a level should be rated, but the main pattern is just the complexity of the visuals. Featured levels usually just have a good block and air deco that most creators can replicate. It's way more about a good execution to not make a mess or screw up on the colors. Until version 2.1, featured was the highest ranking possible a level could have. So unfortunately, there are a lot of big masterpieces for their time that are just featured, like Death Moon by Caustic, aka Funny Game, is just a featured level. Epic levels. In 2.1, the epic rating was added. It was meant exactly for those levels that went one step above the regular levels. In general, epics already have a lot of elements and structures that go above the regular pretty block design. After feature, it's way more about creativity and concept and how you execute them. Some epic levels also are rated because of their length and how consistent they are. One of the most famous examples is Bloodlust, since it was a top 1 that got the epic rating. Another good example is Flamewall, which just got recently epic rated. It has a really good decoration, but mainly it's an XXL level with insane visuals in it. But to be fair, Flamewall was probably just rated epic because it was built in 2.1 and not 2.2, because the next 2 ratings are only given to levels built in 2.2. Legendary levels. In version 2.2, due to how much levels would evolve, RobTop added 2 new ratings, Legendary and Mythic. It's not exactly clear how RobTop separates Mythics from Legendaries, but Mythics usually have the it factor. Legendary levels are mostly the ones that are completely clean and insanely well executed. Incredible concepts all over the place and levels that the creators take months to build. One of the most solid examples is the recently rated The End Is Here by Doggy. The level is definitely well executed and a step above epic. The first half is very calm until the second half, which bombards you with amazing effects. Mythic levels. At the top of the food chain, there's the Mythics. As mentioned before, there is no established standard to separate Mythics from Legendaries, but one common thing is having a constant theme. One of the main things that carries a level like Skeletal Shenanigans, besides its incredible animations, it's the amazing theme of spooky scary skeletons. Having skeleton warriors, a skeletal mage, and a gigantic skeleton is just a peak idea and animation. Mythic levels are usually the ones chosen for the event level, a level that gets in the spotlight for everyone to play it. It's usually a demon, but recently some harder/insanes have been picked for it as well. Viprin, one of the elder moderators of the game that helps RobTop a lot, already said in an AMA that for event levels, they usually reach out to creators. Sometimes they have a music artist in mind that they want to make the event, and they pick a fitting creator with specific instructions or styles in mind. Other times they just hear about an upcoming amazing level that could work well for an event while they don't have anything scheduled. Imagine this. You're barely a teenager and your friends at school start playing this one-button game called Geometry Dash. Since it's a minimalistic and simple game, it catches your attention. At first, you struggle with the same levels everyone else does. You die. A lot. But one day, something clicks. You beat a level most people can't, then another, and another. People start noticing. You start playing it on your computer and start to grind the hardest of the hardest levels. You do gigantic jumps, and suddenly you are beating the hardest extreme demons. Your name starts to appear everywhere. You gain fame, hundreds of thousands of views, verification projects, and the respect of the entire community. Sounds good, right? Well, actually, no. Being a top player sucks, and here's why. Every top player has a different lore and different struggles, so we are going to cover all of them individually, but a lot of them definitely have more than one. Time. Being a top player is not something that happens from one day to another. Sure, genetics play an important role, and it's not everyone that can be the best of the best, but being a natural does not guarantee you that. You'd still have to put an insane dedication into the game in order to beat the best levels. And speaking of genetics, that is a big factor to define the amount of attempts you put on a level. For example, imagine how insane it was in 2020 that Nswish beat levels like Zafkiel in only 700 attempts. In comparison, another insane player at the time, Gizbro, took almost 10 times as many attempts as Nswish and even said it was an awful experience. Another famous and good example is when Nobbleboy spent 1.5 years and more than 120,000 attempts to verify Bloodlust, the top one at the time.
I went to play the level, and it was an interesting experience. Like, it was a crazy level to pick up. It took way longer than expected. It was stressful. There were definitely moments where I just sat with the level, like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I'm spending so much time on this. Like, who the fuck is doing? Like, who the hell would do this? But like, I'm also not a quitter.
It was an insane achievement and showed how much dedication he had, but unfortunately, a sane person cannot take that much time to beat all the levels they aim to. and one of the top players at the time, Skolo, beat it in only 2 weeks later. This is one of the proofs that unfortunately, only dedication and persistence will not make you the best of the best players. And last but not least, one of the current most famous examples, Doggy and Grief. Doggy has been playing the top 1 Grief for almost 2 years now, has more than 340,000 attempts, and still hasn't managed to verify it. Besides having to play the level this much for all this time, he also has to keep constantly seeing comments from the community about the time he is taking to verify it. Doggy himself already stated that he does not have motivation to keep playing the level.
I feel like I'm like stuck in terms of progress. I mean, I can't really make much progress, and I feel like I'm being held back, like mentally, but also physically. I just feel like I'm not as good as I could be whenever I'm playing, and I kind of just lost a little bit of like motivation because I don't know when I'm gonna progress. Like, when the fuck is that gonna happen? Oh yeah, and then I hate playing it now, like more than ever before. All that piled on top of each other, I would start to think like, what if I do drop it? What happens next? I realized that I can't do that. So.
Comparison. Unless you are the undisputed GOAT of your time, it's impossible to not get compared and compare yourself to people better than you. Oh, you beat a top 10? Congrats! But this guy beat a top 5. Oh, you beat the top 1? Cool. But this guy also beat it in less attempts. You completed 20 levels on the demon list? That's alright, but this guy completed almost all 75. Unfortunately, the community has this gigantic bias in only focusing on the current top 1 level and the top 1 player. If you were in the top 10, top 5, even top 2, you will still get compared and downgraded because of that. We mentioned Doggy and Grief's situation previously, and because of the time he is taking to verify it, he's often compared to other players, with many people in the community saying he should drop the level and hand it over to someone who could finish it faster, despite the huge amount of dedication he puts in. Comparisons can have different effects on each player. Some of them might get motivated to keep playing the game and force themselves to get better and better, but others might get demotivated because there's someone else out there better than them that they cannot beat. Space UK is one of the most infamous examples of that. On his ascension, one of the first players he had a rivalry with was the former top 1 RG. RG himself stated that he lost a lot of motivation with the game and stopped grinding it because he could not keep up with Space UK's level and how good he was, only to find out later that he was a hacker.
As for me, I do think I would have definitely been much better off without him, especially since part of the reason I got so demotivated was because of him, because he passed me so fast.
But Space UK also caused the opposite effect in the future. When he lied about beating levels like Slaughterhouse, he ended up pushing the limits of the game at the time so much and making players work way harder to get the number 1 spot that without him, the current skill level might not have become as big as it is today. Hack accusations. GD is an easy game to hack. That's not a secret to anyone. But even the legitimate players suffer from that because of the amount of suspicion there is. Picture this. You just won the race to verify the current top 1, a level that the entire GD mainstream was looking at. Many of the best players were competing against you, but you still won and managed to beat it, but instead of everyone congratulating you, they accuse you of hacking? That's exactly what happened to Dolphy in Tartarus. Tartarus was one of the biggest projects from Riot that caught the attention of the entire community. Dolphy came out of nowhere beating it, so it's fair that his completion was suspicious. And he was even accused by other hackers such as N-Level. Nowadays, most of the people accept that he beat it legit, but there's still a lot of controversy and even people like Riot himself still thinking that he hacked it.
Nobody can change my mind on this, and you can disagree with me, but I still think Dolphy cheated Tartarus to this day.
Another great example of a different hackuzation was with Sunix. When Sunix beat Bloodlust, he used an FPS bypasser, which at the time was not allowed by the demon list. That made him get banned for months, and funny enough, FPS bypass nowadays is a tool built in-game that everyone can use, but that ended up being one of the reasons Sunix quit GD. Expectations. Getting more famous and better also means people expect from you. If you beat something hard, it's normal. If you don't, people don't care, and your achievements end up expiring faster than you'd expect if you want to keep the top level. That happened a lot in the history, not only with the 2 examples mentioned before about Doggy and Nobbleboy, but when the community expected Riot to be the one to verify Sonic Wave, he was considered the best at the time, but unfortunately wasn't the one to do it.
If I have any regrets in this whole online thing I've done throughout most of my life, it would be not pulling through with Sonic Wave. Like, if I could just go back and like slap myself in the face, be like, dude, you have to do this. If it's the last thing you ever do, you need to do this. It's so important. I know I have a great legacy in this game, but like Sonic Wave would have been the cherry on top, and I still regret it to this day that I wasn't like mentally strong enough to be able to pull through. Like,
expectations play a much more important role when you are going for a new hardest or a mental challenge. It might push you to keep doing it, or just destroy your mental completely because you have to do it no matter what. Many players can just fall into the pressure of the community. You don't play for yourself anymore or to have fun. You play to keep a position you know you can't keep for the rest of your life, just to keep the expectations of others. Not saying that those players did it because of that, but pressure is definitely an aspect every top player experiences. Physical problems. Riot also had another huge reason he reduced his activity: finger pain. After playing for years, many players get unable to keep playing the game for big periods of time due to stuff like tendinitis or other joint problems. Zobros would also suffer from that as well. He revealed that he had intense finger pain, and even in his creator contest results video, he said he had to play the auto versions of the contest's level entries due to it, which made him quit the game for years. Skill also doesn't last forever. You start to lose some of your reflexes and reaction time speed when you enter your late 20s. It's not like a chess player that can keep going until they're old. The time a GD top player stays at the top is way shorter than any sport. Burnout and losing interest. If you said in 2020 that Aeon Air's hardest level would one day be harder than N-Swish's, you would have been called crazy. But it happened. The reality is that players have limits. They're human beings. No one can keep grinding every single day for hours, like it's a job. They're not athletes, most of them are teenagers. Very few people can keep playing the game for years while maintaining a top level performance, and at best we have examples like Aeon himself and Diamond Splash that are still beating top levels till this day. That was one of the reasons N-Swish himself quit.
I'd say like after I beat the entire main list in September of 2020, I sort of stopped playing the game seriously, although I was still like involved with the community and I was like following up on all the events and whatnot, so I knew what was going on then. I just wasn't playing as much.
That also would happen to Sunix and Blast CFB as well, and so many other top players. Some of them quit for a while, then came back, but usually they are unable to keep up with the top level after so much time. After you dedicate so many hours in a game and after becoming the best, you just end up losing interest in it and move on to play other stuff and do something else. Real life. And moving with something else, I really mean it. Top players are also people that one day grow up. Another reason that N-Swish quit is because he was about to enter college. No one is a robot to keep doing all the stuff in their life at the same time while playing GD. There's a reason most top players are teens. It's because they just have more free time. Unless you are someone that can make playing GD your job, like EVW does, you have to step away from playing it to move on with your life. And even EVW himself already recorded in multiple videos that he will quit the game at some point because he needs to take care and focus on his family and personal life more. Technical did that. Despite never actually quitting the game, he greatly reduced his activity in late 2021 after starting college, because he had to move forward. Even the current top players will have to move on with their lives at some point. While players like Zoink and Popoff are still teenagers, they can keep their top position, but at some point they will have to go to college, have a job, and reduce their activity when the next generation of players start to dominate.
Imagine this. You're a solo indie developer that had many different game design attempts in the past. You find a very interesting simple rhythm-based platformer with one button called the Impossible Game. You make a game inspired out of it. No lore, just jumps and music. At first it's just a mobile game, but with an insane catch. It has a level editor for custom maps. People play it on the bus, at school, during breaks. Some get frustrated and quit, others keep going. Then, after updating the game multiple times and adding a bunch of new features, something unexpected happens. Players start pushing the game way beyond what you imagined. Harder and harder demons are created. The skill ceiling explodes, and what was known as just an app, now it's a game engine. Years pass, and instead of dying like most mobile games, Geometry Dash becomes one of the most competitive creative, and demanding games in the world. Sounds good, right? Well, actually no. Being RobTop sucks, and here's why. Responsibility. RobTop didn't just create a game, he created a platform. Geometry Dash is no longer defined by its official levels. It's defined by millions of community-made levels, thousands of creators, and an entire competitive ecosystem. Every single update and even every minor change he makes affects physics consistency, muscle memory built over years, and millions of existing levels. And once a new update is released, there's no undo button. And the fact that he is the only and main responsibility for the development puts all the stakes on his hands. One small change can break old levels, invalidate challenges, or completely shift what's possible in the game. There are hundreds of known bugs on GD that just can't be patched, because if they do, thousands of levels will just break, including rated ones. Speaking of rated levels, RobTop also has the responsibility of not only rating every single level, but also every day choosing a new daily, every week choosing a new weekly demon, choosing a new event level and gauntlet levels, programming 2.21, assigning new moderators and checking the current ones, and so much more. Sure, he can always hire someone to give the ability to do those things, but the main problem is that it would create an inevitable inconsistency between the choices. Some levels would have different standards than others to be rated, and RobTop would still have to monitor the game to see if everything is aligned correctly. He can't just throw it in someone else's hands and hope it will be alright. RobTop is also, in the end, responsible for anything bad that happens in the community itself. For example, when Space UK won the award as the best player from 2021 and 2022, which were uploaded on RobTop's channel, RobTop took the main responsibility to nominate and award him. And now, even after being exposed as a hacker, he is immortalized there and the real winners will never receive their prize. Another really good example, and one of the strongest ones, are dramas towards the moderator team. Each time there's an exposal or leak that one of them did bad stuff, which is usually when they really like children, it also affects RobTop directly too, since he put those people to represent the community for years. Not only that, but Geometry Dash is also rated for everyone to play, including kids, so he has a responsibility to keep the game clean for everyone. And creators nowadays put the most unexpected things on their levels that he can't rate, sometimes even hidden, going from an innocent middle finger to literally anti-Semitic stuff. RobTop has to be aware 100% of the time. Update expectations. Geometry Dash updates are not regular updates, they are events. Rob is the only developer the game has as well, so to get a new update, it all depends on how fast he is. And unfortunately, a big part of the community doesn't seem to understand how complicated it is to gather all the valid ideas for the game, program it, design the assets, set the servers, and so much more. Years of waiting build massive expectations, and a lot of times, some stuff just doesn't go as planned. For example, in the most recent update, RobTop officially added his version of CBF to the game, but we already have multiple people complaining because his version is not as good as the modded ones. If the update is too small, people say it was pointless. If it's too big, people say it ruined the game. If it adds new mechanics, players complain about overflowing the game. If it doesn't, creators say the game is stagnating. No matter what you do, someone will be disappointed. One of the reasons that Update 2.2 took 7 years to be released was because RobTop was constantly adding new features to it. Not only because he wanted to implement them, but because it was stuff the community was hungry for. It was the biggest update in the game's history, so he could not disappoint. Third-party interventions. During the years, unfortunately, RobTop had to face a lot of different people either modding the game or just going to attack the servers themselves. The main examples are the known cheats. In the past, we didn't have stuff like MegaHack that were collabing with RobTop, but instead, individual programs to do specific stuff like NoClip. Now imagine you were a game developer and someone makes a cheat for your game that literally makes the player immune, allowing them to complete any level. The rational decision would be to patch it, right? But when you do, they come back again and again and again, and while you have to patch it multiple times, you also have to keep developing the next update of the game, because the community is also demanding that, and patching cheats is only the tip of the iceberg. In 2017, Geometry Dash had the biggest hacking scandal of its history. Thousands of accounts were leaked, including from famous players and creators in the community. RobTop fixed what he could, but the damage was already done. The data of so many accounts were lost, and we even had people impersonating others. You gotta remember, everyone involved were just teens. Anaban himself, who was one of the hackers involved, was a teen as well, and RobTop was the one who had to clean all the mess and fix the game. That was one of the reasons the updates had to be delayed. Community conflicts. The fact that RobTop rates every single level in the game has its pros and cons. As mentioned before, one of the pros is having consistency in the standards that himself can control, but obviously, one of the cons is always being responsible for every level getting rated or not. RobTop is not a machine like a lot of people think. He is a human being. He spends most of his time working and programming, when he doesn't even have to, but all of that is because he is passionate about the game. But after spending hours every day working on it, he definitely does not want to spend more time giving all of his attention to GD. This is where the community conflicts begin. RobTop receives a lot of hate for taking too long to do certain things sometimes, such as rating levels like the top 1 hardest demon, Thinking Space 2, that took months to get star rated, even though it had all the spotlight from the community when it was verified. Why? Because RobTop does not use his free time to search for community news. Sure, he has his moderators and people that pass important information for him, but he can't pay attention to every single level and event that is happening while working fully at the game. Speaking about levels like TS2, it's also insanely hard for RobTop to rate these levels simply because he is not good enough to check the level by himself. He has zero time to improve and become a better player, relying on the community's ratings and opinions. Atypical dev. RobTop is definitely different from most other game developers. He is extremely honest in not putting stuff in GD like microtransactions, gacha, or ads, when he definitely could have made even more money from those things. As mentioned before, he also works in the game 100% by himself. He is passionate about it, but obviously that ends up backfiring from one way or the other, because he is kinda stuck on doing this forever. Yes, he can hire people to do the job for him, but what if it doesn't work? GD itself is in a pretty good position as it is, but imagine RobTop puts more people to have the same power as him, and the game just becomes worse. Or new decisions made just make the community angrier. GD was only made by him, not a team of devs. There's not a big company behind everything taking care, and he also has to face the consequences of being an atypical developer. Loss of control over the narrative. Unfortunately, not everyone in the community is aware of all those reasons that we mentioned, so because of that, RobTop often falls into false narratives and accusations. YouTubers, players, creators, and even well-intentioned community figures end up filling the gaps with speculation, assumptions, or half-truths. Over time, these interpretations spread faster than corrections ever could, turning uncertainty into common knowledge and framing RobTop as careless, lazy, or intentionally silent even when none of that is accurate. The problem is that once a narrative takes hold, it becomes almost impossible to undo. Any delay, lack of communication, or vague statement gets filtered through those existing assumptions, reinforcing them instead of challenging them. RobTop isn't just fighting technical problems or development hurdles anymore. He's constantly reacting to a version of himself that the community has collectively imagined. And the larger the community grows, the less control he has over how his actions or inaction are perceived. The money. I mean, how can one person have this much money? He probably has to pay a lot of taxes. Poor Robert.